They go to Malinsky at the point, then to Taves. Shoot, score! Big screen in front by Nichushkin, who had the hat trick in December against the Blues. He'll deflect that one in, and the Avs take a 1-0 lead. Taves to the far side. Natchez to the goal. Pad save. Hofer. That's the 16th shot he's faced. Comes back to McKinnon. They go down low and score to Natchez. 2-0 Colorado. Final 10 seconds tick off. The Avalanche get revenge. They beat the Blues 3-1 and send the Blues season to the brink, trailing the playoffs by 5 points with 5 games to go. A tough loss here on home ice tonight.
Tough loss indeed. One of those teams is just better than the other. It's
Blues over Colorado. Yeah,
Alongside
I thought so
Alex
too.
and T-Bone, I'm BK. That's what it sounded like last night right here in your home of the Blues 101 ESPN as the Blues lose in regulation. Worst case scenario against the Colorado Avalanche. Alex, I thought Jim Montgomery yesterday said it really well, where he was asked about the situation that the Blues find themselves in and their playoff chances. And he referenced when they were actually lost, and I don't think it was last night. Take a listen.
Tonight was more of a lesson for us from an elite team in the league about how you play in this league night in, night out, to be able to be at this time of the year where you don't have the pressure of winning games, and you've just established yourself through October, right through the break, where you don't have to go on a, killer run. You're just one of the elite teams that's going to make the playoffs, and you just continue to play like that. And that's a lesson I hope that we learn from tonight.
They were 3-7-2 through the first 12 games of the regular season. That's when you lost your playoff chances. It was too little too late. There was just nothing that this team could do. They had to go on another historically great run if they wanted any real chance at making it to the postseason. They, according to MoneyPuck.com, have a 0.5% chance as of this morning to reach the postseason. Things are just not going their way right now, and they're still playing really well. Last night was, an outlier game, but since the break, they've been one of the best teams in the NHL. You can't ask for a whole lot more out of them. Alex, this was lost when they got off to that atrocious start in October. That's really what the season came down to.
Yeah, it was lost then. It was lost when you coughed up 2 4-goal leads and lost in regulation to Nashville and Detroit. It was lost in the 3 games to Dallas when you had a minute less remaining and you lost in regulation. You lost your playoff hopes when you lost all of those games. And, to put it into perspective, this is the month-by-month breakdown of the record for the Colorado Avalanche. In October, 7-1-4. November, 11-0-2. December 12-1-1, January 6-6-2, February 3-2, March 10-4-1. Quick math, that's one month where they went either at or below 500. Yeah. You know how many season or months you had where you went at or below 500 or above 500?
I'm guessing like
1, 2. Okay.
I was going to say 3.
2. You did it in November when you were 6-4-5, which I know people are going to be like, that's not above 500. They call it above 500 because you're 2 games above 500. 10-2-2 in March. You are unable to consider yourself a team that can push for the playoffs unless you figure out your problems in October, November, and December. Because Joey talks about this all the time, and I fully agree with him. You cannot make the playoffs by Thanksgiving. You can lose the playoffs by Thanksgiving. And that's what the Blues did. By Thanksgiving, they were 9-10-7. While other teams in the Western Conference, minus 1 spot in the wild card, had gone away. They've gone 5 or 6 games above 500. So the biggest lesson that this Blues team is going to have to take away, which is what I talked about with you, BK, a couple of weeks ago, that I actually think I think it's better in the long run for this team to miss the playoffs rather than make a magical run and get to the playoffs so that they know what it feels like to have to go on an incredible run and still not be rewarded for postseason. You're not rewarded for what you didn't do early in the season. So now the emphasis is going to be, look, we didn't make the postseason. You guys did a hell of a performance from March on. Take whatever you did from March on to October and November. And if you do that, you are going to put yourself in the position where you're talking playoffs easily like the Utah Mammoth or the Minnesota Wild have been talking.
They're the kid that consistently gets rewarded for cramming for the exam.
I hated those kids.
Because hey, I was that kid.
They're able.
I hate you.
Last year, what they did basically was they never turned in their homework. They never did really much of anything. Never showed up for class. But the day before the exams, they would cram everything. They would pull an all-nighter. They'd show up for the exam. exams are worth whatever 80% of your grade. They'd ace the exam, and then they'd get into the playoffs. That's what the Blues were last year. And this year, they showed up for the exams, but it was too little too late. They got, 80, 90% on the exams, but it wasn't enough, and they ultimately failed the class. That's who the Blues are right now. And yes, they're doing the final exam. They're doing pretty well right now. But you didn't show up for any of the work previously. You didn't do any of the daily, hey, every day your homework is worth 10 points or whatever, right? That's where the Blues are missing out. They're not going through the grind of October and November to set themselves up in a position to where they're a legit playoff team. So they've got a lot of work to do early on in the season, and that means a lot of work to do in the offseason. Because it felt like last year there were guys that were coming back from injury like Dylan Holloway. I don't know if Thomas was fully healthy early to start out this year. I have no idea, but he certainly had the leg issue that he had apparently been dealing with since at some point last year. This offseason, get your stuff right, man. Come in ready to go and then hit the ground running next season. Alex, beyond that, though, there are legitimate things this team's got to get figured out.
Yeah.
They don't have a second line right now. Like, it just
Or a
doesn't
third
exist. At least
Debatable
with
on a
the
fourth
third
line.
line, I can squint and see how it works. Like, I don't think Jake Neighbors is going to go 6 weeks next year without a goal.
No.
I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think Dvorsky can be a third line player and you'll be fine. I think, like, Berggren, Stenberg, Drouin, those guys can be third line players for you and you'll be okay. This second line is just flat out not good enough. Like, we were looking at this up earlier today, T-Bone. Your top line, no surprise here. Those are your top three players when it comes to point production since the Olympic break. Number one on the team, by the way, is actually Dylan Holloway. Now, he's played more games. There's a bit of a caveat there. But Dylan Holloway leads the Blues in points since the Olympic break. Fourth on the team in points since the break is Pius Suter. Fifth
What a
is
pickup, am I right?
Broberg. And sixth is Pavel Buchnevich, who people want shipped out of town at a moment's notice. This speaks to Jordan Kyrou, his lack of production. It speaks to Jake Neighbors, his lack of production. They've got to get more out of the second line.
Yeah, I mean, look, the magical part of what the Blues are doing is that their top line is still finding ways to score goals and pick up points because they're getting the best matchup every single game, and they're still finding ways to overcome. But last night, and I think the perfect example was in the second period, about midway through, Jim Montgomery shortened his bench to 7 forwards. Basically, Kyrou, Buchnevich, the entire third line, and I'm trying to think of who the other one was. There was another forward as well. They didn't see a shift for about 5 minutes while Robert Thomas double shifted. Robert Thomas had one play where he was on the ice for a minute. He jumped off the ice for one shift to allow Neighbors, Suter, and Berggren to come on. And then the moment those guys got off the ice, Thomas jumped back over the boards. At the end of the second period, he had played 18 shifts. Kyrou played 10 shifts. You can't do that. That is exhausting for your top players. And all credit to Robert Thomas and that line to do that because they not only did the amount of work that they had to, they also scored a freaking goal. You've got to have a line that can go out there and be the next wave. Because what Colorado does so well, what Minnesota does so well, what Dallas does so well is that once Wyatt Johnston's line is gassed, guess who's stepping over the boards? Rope Hintz. Once the next line's gassed, guess who's coming over the boards? Jamie Benn. You've got to have 3 lines, really 4 lines if you want to compete in the National Hockey League. You don't have another line that can generate scoring opportunities, let alone offensive zone time.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem they're going to have to fix this offseason is going out there and finding a guy that can be the secondary scoring options to Thomas Holloway and Snuggerud. Whether that's in the draft, whether that is going out there and making a trade, or you hope Justin Carbonell comes in like Jimmy Snuggerud did this year and looks great.
And I think that's too much to ask, personally.
It is. It absolutely is. But we don't know. We don't know what Carbonell is until we see him at the NHL level.
I would say this. I think we know it's too much to put on him as a rookie. Now, if he he becomes that, great.
Sure.
But you cannot expect it. If your plan next year is to be a playoff team, you should not be coming into the season expecting him to be a 25-goal scorer.
Nope.
If you are, I think that's going into it asking far too much from a rookie who's been playing juniors hockey this year.
Those guys come in and their lottery tickets. You find out that they could play at the NHL level, and boom, great, we've got another third-line winger. I think what they need to do now is stop this whole experiment of seeing who these guys are. The game on Thursday against Winnipeg, I want to see Otto Stenberg playing with Dalibor Dvorsky and Jonathan Berggren. I want to see Jake Neighbors playing with Pius Suter and whatever winger you want to put on that one. If you want to put Kyrou on it, probably need to, because you're not going to sit him. But you need to stop this Jonathan Drouin thing of him out there. Stenberg needs to be playing in your top 6 to find out what this guy is. No more trying to resolve who these pieces are for you next year. No, Stenberg needs to be playing just like Berggren needs to be playing. Dvorsky needs to be playing top 6 minutes.
I would actually say, what you just said there, you need to find out what these guys are for next year. I think they were still attached to the idea that this is a playoff
not Drouin
team
anymore.
Yeah, that's fine. I think this is now a take a deep breath moment. Somebody on the YouTube chat earlier said, what are we doing? The top line played 24 minutes last night. Yeah, they should have. That was a game where you were trying to continue to keep these playoff aspirations alive. That's the way that they should have been coaching in that moment. Now you can set that aside. You have a 99% chance of not making it to the postseason. Those dreams are more or less dead. It sucks. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality that you're now facing. Now it is time to find out, all right, step 2, let's turn the page to next year. Today is the day where, in my opinion, that should happen.
Yeah.
The Blues, while that top line has been on the ice at 5-on-5 since the Olympics, have outscored the opposition 16-1 according to Natural Stat Trick. When they are not on the ice, when it is not Thomas, Snuggerud, or Holloway, and it's anybody else on the ice at 5-on-5, the Blues have been outscored 15-12. So in other words, that top line has been on the ice for 180 minutes, and they have more goals in those 180 minutes at 5-on-5 than the rest of your lineup does since the Olympic break in 600 minutes. The rest of your lineup has 3 times more ice time and has fewer goals than the top line. And they're going up against worse players on average than that top line is. It's untenable. The fact that you've been playing this well after the Olympic break speaks to how otherworldly Thomas, Snuggie, and Holloway have been. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's been necessary, though, speaks to how much you need in the middle 6 right now, and I would specify that second line because I don't think that their plan is to get rid of Dvorsky or Neighbors or Carbonneau if you want to put him on that line, or the Stenbergs of the world.
Those guys need to be your...
Those guys are your third line going into next year, in my opinion.
The rest of this season, those guys need to be your second line. The guys that don't see as much ice for the rest of the way need to be Kyrou and Buchnevich. I want to see, you should be seeing the next wave after Thomas's line of Neighbors, Stenberg, Dvorsky, Berggren. Those are the 4 guys that you need to see more of. The rest of them can just kind of filter in the rest of the way.
From the 5-7-3, bash on the kids all you want, Dvorsky, Stenberg, etc. I don't think they understood what the grind was that this year and what would be required. I don't think anybody's bashing on the kids.
No.
Kids have been fine.
Yeah,
I think too much was asked of the kids this year.
Because your top guys didn't perform. Kyrou wasn't a 30-goal scorer. Booch didn't return to being a 25-goal scorer. Booch is on the 4th line. Kyrou's the guy that we're talking about shipping out of town.
If they were competitive, I don't think Dalibor, Dvorsky, or Otto Stenberg are even on this NHL roster at this point. I think they're probably still in the minor leagues, but they were put into this position, and now they're trying to figure it out. And, yeah, they absolutely probably hit a wall because this is the first full 82-game schedule that they've had to deal with.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah. They're going to be fine.
I don't think those guys are bad players. I think they're limited, which makes sense because they're very early in their respective careers, and I think they're going to continue to develop. So we'll see what comes out of that. Blues right now, as of today, would be 8th overall in the NHL draft lottery.
Freaking
standings.
Montreal beat Florida last night.
How about Detroit?
Yeah.
Now, very likely to end up with a lottery pick. Now, it's highly unlikely that they win it. As of today, their lottery odds are what your playoff odds are. So it's unlikely, but they're 15th overall, and there's a chance that they continue to move up in a positive direction for the Blues. So you potentially got a lottery pick in return for Justin Falk at the trade deadline. That
Two
ain't
potential top 15 picks. I will take that any day of the week. That's good ammo to have going into the draft.
You guys can get involved in the show at 314-399-9646. You can always check us out on YouTube and be a part of the Graveyard Chat at youtube.com/101ESPN But coming up next, the Cardinals have a very endearing trait, but can we stop utilizing it as often as they've had to? We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario back with you to talk about my friends out at Ted Drew's famous frozen custard off of Chippewa, open daily for its 97th season. It's a St. Louis tradition since 1929, and I'm not here to tell you about it because you've already probably heard about it. If you're a St. Louisan, you know all about it. I'm here to just remind you that it's time to go out there and get that delicious frozen custard. It's time to go out there and build those traditions with your family, with your friends, and do something that 4 generations of people have been doing out at Ted Drew's, and that's enjoying the vanilla custard off of a family-run business that was built on quality service and a love for St. Louis. They have tons of specialty flavors that you could go out there and try, like the tiramisu. It's a blend of chocolate and pistachio nuts served as a concrete or a sundae. They also have a caramel apple sundae. They've got a Dutchman all shook up. Whatever you're looking for, they've got over at Ted Drew's. Plus, you can walk across the parking lot, check out their gift shop and their historical museum at next to Ted Drew's off of Chippewa. So get on out there and build those traditions today. Real custard, real tradition. Ted Drew's, it's St. Louis.
driven toward right. That's pretty well hit. Weimer going back. He's going to turn, and Walker has another opposite field home run. Swing and a high fly to right. Weimer retreats, still going back. Look at that ball carried to the wall. It is gone. Look at Church celebrate a game-tying homer. That's how you break an over. The Cardinals have come back. Swing and a shot hammered toward right. Weimer on the run. Can't get it. That's down. Weatherholt around first. On his way to second. He's got a double. He's got a fist pump. And the Cardinals lead by 2.
They're committed to it. If there's one thing we're going to do, it's going to be that. They're not going to give in. They're going to play hard regardless of score situation, man. And I'm proud of these dudes for continuing to do that. And you lose a game like yesterday, and to come back and have energy and to come back again, it's just, man, it says a lot about the group.
Audio courtesy of Cardinals TV with Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK. Cardinals with another come-from-behind victory yesterday in extra innings. That was a fun one, Alex. Find a way to get the win. Nathan Church with the homer, Jordan Walker with the homer, Sajasi with the double, J.J. Weatherholt with the nice hit there as well. I love what we're seeing. And this quality that they have of coming from behind and never feeling like they're out of games, it's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. I find myself gripped late into these games believing if this top 5 of the order comes up, they've still got a shot here so long as they're within striking distance. And that's a good quality to have. You want to have that as a team. You also don't want to lean on it too often because so far this year they have 6 wins on the season. 5 of them have been the come from behind variety. That is a glass half full, glass half empty kind of statistic. Glass half full, man, they have been able to come from behind 5 times and held on for the victory. Really impressive. Glass half empty, man, they have 6 wins this year. They've had to come from behind to win 5 of them. They've only held the lead the entire game 1 time so far this year out of the 11 games in which they have played. That is not a sustainable trait for the long haul. So I find myself kind of on both sides of this one, Alex, but I do enjoy it as we're watching it in the moment. Like last night, I wasn't thinking to myself, man, they better start winning these games when they're up 3-0 the whole time.
Did you pump your arm when you did it too?
But I do now, looking back on it, think to myself, like, man, if they're going to be like an 80-win team, they better starting with the lead and then just maintaining it the entire game. That's a little more sustainable.
That's tough to ask, though, with this pitching staff. But, I mean, look, that's the thing. The sustainability of this, it's fun right now to have the comeback cards. That's not going to be here in June. And I'm not saying that to be like, the negative Cardinals fan. It's just, let's be real with this. You can't play comeback whatever all season. Like, take the Blues, for example. Like, they tried to play comeback hockey, and it doesn't work. You get exhausted from it, especially when you score the go-ahead run, and then the next inning, your pitchers give up 3 more, and you're trailing again. At some point, you're going to run into a really good pitching staff. At some point, there's going to be fatigue that sets in, and you look at it and you're like, God, can we just please stop having to score more runs in the 9th inning or going to extras to win this baseball game? So it's fun in April. It's not fun when you get to June or July. So, yeah, they're going to have to figure out their pitching staff because at some point, that magic is going to disappear, and these wins are going to start turning into a lot of losses.
Rambo says, a win is a win. Totally. I'm not discrediting what they did last night.
A win is a win.
The point is well made. You don't take away any of the 6 wins from the resume that they have. I am incredibly impressed by the young players, their total willingness and ability to just put whatever happened behind them and keep going and keep fighting and keep battling and stay in the count. And it's been really impressive. This lineup, it's not perfect. And the bottom 3 or 4 in it leaves a lot to be desired. But they've been better than I expected them to be so far this year. And Walker is a huge part of that, but it goes even beyond him. Gorman has had some big moments. Yesterday with Sajasi, obviously the home run yesterday as well with Nathan Church. It's been impressive. What I'm getting to here is approaching what the rest of the season will look like. And I don't think the way they've been winning is something you can lean on too much going forward. That being said, it speaks to the pitching. And it's something they might need to lean on moving forward. Because, T-Bone, I know your biggest takeaway from last night was the Liberator side of things, where listen, 5 innings, 4 earned runs is not the end of the world. He did have a decent number of strikeouts. He did have some swing and miss. Like, all of those are positives. But going back to the same thing, like glass half full, glass half empty, you really needed 6 innings out of him yesterday. And he wasn't able to give you that because he got deep into so many counts. And he was only able to get through 5. Thank God Soriano was able to get you through a couple there at the end. Thankfully, Graceffo was mostly fine in his 2 innings of work as well. Otherwise, you would have had to go to a lefty that none of us wanted to see in the game yesterday that wasn't decided yet. So that was a big one for Libby, and he fell a little short, and really the rotation so far has fallen short.
Yeah, the rotation and the bullpen bullpen's been bad. The rotation's been meh so far. Like, and that's the thing for this. Like, I agree with what you guys are saying. Look, it's fun in the moment that they're having these comeback wins, but you need more out of your starters, right? Libby in that game yesterday, you said it perfectly. They needed him to go 6, and he couldn't do it, right? And then it kind of set things up to where if Soriano couldn't go that extra inning or Graceffo couldn't go that extra inning, I don't know how the hell they would have gotten through that game. I guess Schuster would have been called upon, but they wouldn't have felt comfortable in that moment. And the other thing you have to realize, too, is though, yes, the offense does look better, and it might be better than expected because of Jordan Walker, if this is real from what we're seeing from him, and if Gorman is having a bit of a bounce-back year, the offense is going to be better than we expected. It's not going to be top 5 in runs, though, across Major League Baseball. Like, that's just not going to be where this team's going to finish. I think best-case scenario, you're talking about 15-ish is where they're going to be.
15th.
Sorry.
That's Shakespearean.
15-ish is where they're probably going to settle in at best. Like, best case scenario, I think that is where their offense will be. I think odds are, though, it's going to be anywhere between 20th to 30th in Major League Baseball still. Even if Walker does hit, they just don't have that many pieces, and the bottom of the order is such a major drop-off.
You're that low, though, on the offense, and, like, none of this matters.
Well, the point I'm getting to, though, is it's not sustainable with your
top 20 pitching.
Because your pitching's not that, right? And that's where it comes down to, like, right now you're top 5 in runs in baseball. You're also top 5 in runs allowed in baseball. So,
right, but what you're saying, though, is if you think that the offense is going to settle in the bottom 10 and the pitching is going to settle in the bottom 10, they're just a bad baseball team, so none of this conversation matters because it doesn't matter if it's sustainable or not because nothing about this season is about the winning.
All right, well, then basically segment over. We just determined it.
No, like that's just, am I wrong here? That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah,
right?
And I think that's where the problem, though, is like, I think the offense can be better, but it's not going to matter if the pitching's going to be in the bottom 10 because even then, like, I don't think they can get to this. They might be able to get to 75 wins.
Let me ask you this. What do you think is more likely, for the offense to kind of sustain what they've been or for the pitching to take a step forward? Because I think the offense sustaining this is more likely than the pitching taking a meaningful step forward. I don't think you have enough upside with this staff to get a whole lot more out of the pitching. Honestly, I think it'll be better than the worst, but not
my
by
answer is neither. I don't think.
So you're with T-Bone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think your pitching takes a step forward. I think your pitching takes a step forward when you start to bring other guys up, but I don't know when that's going to be. It might be out of reach at that point. I think your offense can sustain it now, but about a month in is when your offense is going to really start to be like, this is going to be difficult.
Yeah, we're in the first month of weirdish happens in baseball, and that's where I'm with Alex. I don't think either's happening.
Polar Express over here is doing the one thing you shouldn't do. You just legitimately
BK falling for something 10 games in. Shocker.
You just legitimately either got somebody injured or Jordan Walker is about to go into a dry spell of 2 months.
I'm in.
What, you in for all of those?
No, I'm in for Walker.
Oh,
that's what I'm buying in on.
Jerk.
So let me explain this. I asked T-Bone the question, what are you more willing to buy in on? Like the pitching going up or the offense sustaining where they're at? I'm more in on the offense because I think what we're seeing from Jordan Walker is real. I don't have hesitation at this point. Well,
I got that vibe.
I could tell.
For anybody listening on the radio, yes, the conductor hat is officially on. It's time. Like, why not buy in to what we're seeing right now? He's doing everything, man.
It's, what, 10 games?
Yes. And
11 games?
11 games. We have not seen this from Walker in 3 seasons.
Anybody can get hot for 11 games.
No, not like this. Walker literally
I think they can.
For 11 games.
I can't do it for 11 games, man. If we're talking up 2 months in, then I can absolutely put that hat on. And somebody just said, classic Ferrario with the unbelievable pessimism. Look, Jordan Walker gave me that unbelievable pessimism. I'm not going to buy into it for 11 games. I'm starting to want to, but I know what happens on the other side of this rainbow. I do what Dunce does over here, and I put the hat on, and then a month from now, he's not getting a hit, and we'll be like, oh, he's broken again.
No.
I'm not going to do it at 11 games.
Dunce would never be wrong.
No, Dunce is always wrong. That's the whole point.
I don't know how you can watch this and be like, yeah, no, this is unsustainable. He's amazing. Okay, he's hitting like one of the best players in baseball right now.
Amazing, man.
No, he's back.
No, I agree. He's been amazing.
This is the guy that we've been waiting for.
I
And if
agree.
I'm not allowed to get excited about it, then I don't want to watch the Cardinals this year.
Well, you're
I agree. You can get excited about it. I'm not willing to
want
come
to
on the
believe
air
in
and go,
this.
"This is so
Yeah,
fixed, and
we
we're a
could-
top 15 offense in
We
baseball."
could be excited and also not come on here and say he's amazing, he's fixed, there's no more problems ever going to be here.
No, I think there's going to be issues. Like, he's going to run into, like Mike Trout has issues, right? The best players in baseball will run into some rough spots. Mookie Betts has a couple of weeks where sometimes he doesn't hit. Freddie Freeman, same thing. But right now, what we're seeing from Jordan Walker is what makes me believe in the offense a little more than what I expected to coming into the season. Alec Burleson has not yet hit his stride. Ivan Herrera has not yet hit his stride. Mason Wynn has done a whole lot of nothing so far this year offensively. And don't look now, but Victor Scott's numbers leave a whole hell of a lot to be desired on the offensive side of the ball, although he's been pretty good defensively. We got to fix the noodle arm, but he's fine. He's fine in center field. JJ's just been okay. And yet the offense is producing right now. And the offense is producing because Jordan Walker has been one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. If you think Walker's just good now, and I do,
Obviously.
then maybe the offense can be the carrying tool for the team in 2026. And that's what I think is going to be required for this team to be better than expected, which is like 80-ish wins, 80-plus wins. I think it has to be the offense because I do not believe that this team has the pitching to be able to carry them. And really, a lot of that comes back to, are you buying into Jordan Walker or not? And for me, we're 11 games in. He has 12 hits, 6 extra base hits. I'm buying in. I'm ready to believe.
I think you're looking for love in all the wrong places. I think the Blues hurt you because we thought they'd be competitive and they're not. And now you're starting to fall for that
He's gonna fall
facade.
for anybody. He should fall for his Royals. I could buy into them.
I think you're falling for that facade of like, oh, they're better than what we
I'd
thought.
rather do that, though, than be pessimistic about this team. It's a hell of a lot more fun
11
over here.
games in, and he's thinking
here's the
80-plus
thing.
wins already.
Here's the thing. I don't have to be like, oh, this team sucks and I'm not going to enjoy it. I can enjoy Jordan Walker.
I'm enjoying the hell out
I'm
of
not
it.
going to put
It's
the
great.
I'm
not gonna
rebuilding.
put
I feel like I'm supposed to be pessimistic about it.
No, you're
put
supposed to be optimistic about the individuals and the team success is whatever. I'm optimistic about both.
Sure,
Yeah,
but
I will have that point
but
when
I
we
can-
get into a part of the season that, like, there's an actual sample size.
Can I be
know, but we got a
optimistic
show
for
to do, boys.
Can we be
It's
optimistic for
April,
more than
man.
11 games? No, I'm more addressing people that are like, oh, Ferrario sucks. He's pessimistic.
Yeah, he's a hater.
I'm not going to come on here and say Walker is Mike Trout
And put on
in
a conductor
11
hat.
games and say
No,
he's
not
amazing.
Mike Trout. That's ridiculous. He's
That's
Matt
what you
Holiday.
said.
Coming up next, it's
Oh, my
NFL Quick Hitters here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Last night, the St. Louis Blues fell to the Colorado Avalanche 3-1. They are off today. They will be back in action tomorrow night when they take on the Winnipeg Jets. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. And last night, the Cardinals came back to beat the Washington Nationals. The rubber match of their three-game set in D.C. is this afternoon. 3:05 is first pitch. Miles Michaelis gets the start for Washington. Michael McGreevy will be on the mound for the Cardinals. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
All right, let's dive into some NFL quick hitters. Here's the thing. I want to start off with this. Alex, we really can't discuss the biggest story in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
There's just
no
way to do it.
No, not at all.
Go to social media for that.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about it, but we can't.
Oh, should I look up
And
on
I'm not saying
podcast.
somebody else has told us not to. I'm saying I'm censoring us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling us right now
I'd get
that we
fired.
can't bring it up.
I'd get fired.
I think A.J. Brown is probably going to get traded to the New England Patriots. And that's about all I can say.
Is that what I'm supposed to look up on Twitter, Brandon?
Yeah.
I just Googled that and nothing is connected.
And the coach that's been connected,
A.J.
Brown,
Brown
for most of his NFL career.
Patriots.
We'll get into that off the air in a different podcast at a different time.
Oh.
All right, so NFL quick hitters,
Into
Alex.
NFL quick hitters.
I'd love to know what other NFL quick hitters there are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
I
tell
know.
me what you got here.
Let's get to questions and answers.
NFL draft is like 2 weeks away. What's the big storyline other than A.J. Brown's likely trade? I'm genuinely asking because, like, normally it's the quarterbacks, right? That's what plays. That's the biggest story. Is it Jeremiah Love and where he's going to go?
Jeremiah Love, the next quarterback that's taken. And I'd say that's probably it, other than like the individual team storylines, but like just common NFL
Like
fan.
if I'm a St. Louis fan that likes the NFL, but I don't have a team anymore because I'm rejecting the Rams.
Jeremiah Love, who drafts some, who's the next quarterback after Mendoza. Those would be the two storylines that I think is most important.
And I don't even know if the quarterback one's there just because I don't know that there's another one going in the first round.
Simpson's the guy that seems to be getting the most
Gotten
conversation.
a lot of noise. I don't know if you've heard this last couple of months.
I know Dan
first-round
Orlovsky's been big on him.
But I was listening to one of the draft analysts yesterday. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who said there's literally 2 teams that he's heard connected to him.
Yeah.
And it's Arizona and
Pittsburgh one.
I don't think it was Pittsburgh. I can't remember who the other team was that he said, but the other team I don't think has a first-round pick. So,
Oh, well, that's problematic.
yeah, it's 2 teams that if they take him, it's probably in the second round. So I don't know, man. I don't really see there being a whole lot of intrigue there either. I think it's probably on the non-premium positions that could go in the top 10. Like you're going to see an off-ball linebacker or 2. You could see like a safety and a running back, but I don't know how much that really captures the imagination of NFL fans. I think it captures the imagination of that team that selects him wherever that player decides to go. But I think Jeremiah Love is kind of the only real through line, the big storyline that is intriguing for most casual
and then trades
observers.
if something happens.
Yeah.
But again, you don't know what's going to happen with that one. So I think player-wise, it's 2 guys. It's Mendoza. And it's been a rough couple.
there?
It's been a rough like 5 days. This tea's not working right now. I think it's Love and then Mendoza and then anything else that happens that nobody expected.
I think you're right. I do agree with it. I think Ty Simpson's probably like on the ESPN
Like, who drafts
broadcast.
him?
You'll hear a lot of where's Ty Simpson gonna go?
And you got to wait till day 2.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it'll be kind of like the Malik Willis conversation. Remember in that draft where
Willis,
he got a
yeah.
lot of buzz as a potential first-round
Will
pick
Levis
and then never
too?
did. Yeah,
Because I
Levis was
remember
another
Levis
one.
getting a ton of buzz. I think all of us were like, really? That
Day
guy
of,
can't be.
remember, there was a lot of betting odds that were adjusting where he was potentially like the number 2 overall selection day of the NFL draft and then ends up going in the second
Yeah,
round.
and I think that's what it's going to be for Ty Simpson. I think there's a lot of buzz trying to be created by ESPN of, hey, stick around. It's another quarterback. Where's he going to go? It's a big mystery. And then like you watch day 1, you go, wasn't selected, and then you got to wait till like the 3rd round before he gets taken off the board. I think it's Jeremiah Love. I think that's basically it because those non-premier positions, like casual NFL fan probably doesn't really
I'm with you.
care, let alone even know potentially some of the names, right? You'll probably know some of the edge rushers. name the top tackle going off the board, right? Like
Yeah.
a casual fan will be like, I have no idea.
It's not a draft that has a whole lot of buzzy players. Like I'll read you off the top 10 from Dane Brugler's draft board, which was just released earlier today. You ready? Tell me how many of these you think a casual college football / NFL fan is familiar with.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to name all the positions from these 10, but okay.
All right, let's do that. Arvell Reese, what position and what school did he go to?
Edge, Texas Tech.
Edge, Ohio State.
I knew he was a
damn it.
defensive player.
Jeremiah Love.
Running back,
Notre Dame.
There
That
you
one
go.
people will know.
Fernando Mendoza.
Quarterback.
Quarterback, Indiana.
Sonny Styles.
That sounds like a game show host.
Linebacker.
Is that the Texas Tech guy? No, that's
No,
not
I
the
don't think
Texas
there's a
Tech guy.
linebacker.
This is
Ohio
better than I
State.
expected. Yeah.
Okay, I thought
Baby
so.
Tebow.
See, that's what I flipped the edge and the linebacker.
Caleb Downs.
Oh, that's the safety.
Ohio State.
There
Ohio
you go.
State.
See, he's a household name.
But
He's
he's-
been in college for like 3 years
well,
and was a starter
yeah.
at
I would
Alabama
actually
and
bet
Ohio
there's
State.
a decent amount of people that wouldn't know that
Yeah.
one, the casual
Okay.
fan.
I just think we've seen enough
Yeah.
of
This
it by
one
now.
I bet you can't decipher. Mansour Delane.
That's made up.
Real or made up?
I'm thinking
It's an
tackle,
avatar.
but I have no idea what
Yeah,
school.
no, I'm going to say defensive tackle. No idea on the school.
Cornerback LSU. David Bailey.
That's the
Edge,
Texas
Texas
Tech
Tech.
guy.
Attababy. Spencer Fano.
That's an offensive lineman.
I have no
Oregon?
idea. I truly
Right
have no idea.
idea. Utah.
Oh, okay.
Ruben Bain.
That's the defensive.
Edge for Miami.
Yeah.
The only- then, like, the big reason I know that I saw
Tiny
the
hands.
national championship game, and BK loves them.
I just like the
Football
tiny
playoffs.
hands.
Yeah, he was dominant in the playoffs.
Tiny
And Carnell Tate's the last one out of the top 10.
Oh, that's a receiver at Ohio State.
Where's my boy at? Caleb.
I don't
Banks.
even know his
Yeah.
name.
Oh,
No, I
he's
don't.
like second round.
Well, I always want to say
Caleb.
Caleb Downs, but I know that's not him.
Yeah, Caleb Banks is
Somebody's
a
getting a steal in the second round.
6'7" defensive tackle. He's actually rated by. God, you're the worst.
That's
It's
why I like
over,
him.
man.
No, it's not, man.
It is.
My 9-year-old niece told me that on
Dane
Easter.
Brugler has him as the number 4 defensive tackle in this class. Forget number 4 defensive lineman. Number 4 defensive tackle.
And he's going second round.
Most likely. It seems like that's kind of where people have him pegged right now. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK.
That was our quick hitters.
Not an NFL draft that's getting a ton of buzz. We're literally 2 weeks away, and there's a whole lot of nothing going on. I mean,
Gotta wait for A.J. Brown to get traded to the Patriots.
the biggest storylines that we've had from this draft are like Dan Orlovsky going on every show on ESPN trying to make the case that Ty Simpson's
Well, how about
better
this?
than Fernando Mendoza. That's kind of it.
We've got, for people that aren't on YouTube and can't see over my shoulder, you may not be able to tell over my shoulder, we've got the NFL Network on in studio. And you just said it's 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. When I walked into this studio earlier today, you know what they were talking about? Not the NFL draft. What-
OTAs?
No, not OTAs. What are they most excited to see when the season kicks off this year? Nothing about the NFL draft,
New
which is
rule
2
changes.
weeks away.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up in about 15 minutes, Jordan Walker keeps finding success, but there is one caveat. We'll see how much this matters to you guys. We'll get into that in 15 minutes. You obviously know it doesn't matter
I know,
to me.
I've already been
Coming
called a
up
jerk,
next,
so-
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers here at BK and Ferrario. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK, 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 314, Alex, who are you rooting for most in the Eastern Conference wildcard race? Red Wings miss out so the Blues get a better draft pick, or the Senators miss out so the Blues have a chance at Brady?
I mean, it's the Red Wings. Like, Brady's a pipe dream even if they miss the playoffs. Like, people act like the Blues are the only team that's going to go after Brady Tkachuk. I heard Wyshynski talking on the sheet with Jeff Merrick the other day. He said that the New Jersey Devils should throw Nico Hischier at Ottawa to get Brady Tkachuk.
I'd rather have Jordan Kyrou if I'm them.
No, you wouldn't. But, like, somebody on the podcast today sent a email into Donnie, and they basically said, why do people want Brady Tkachuk? He's the same player as Jordan Kyrou.
Oh, my God.
Donnie got really mad, so you should check out the podcast later because it was very funny. But, like, people live in this world that, like, one, Brady's not that good, and two, you're not going to have to pay a lot to get him. If New Jersey's going to offer up Nico Hischier, you're not getting Brady Tkachuk because you'd have to offer up Robert Thomas to outduel them. So I would much rather have a better pick for Detroit. Man, if Detroit can lose, the Islanders they're ahead of right now, if the Islanders can pick up some more points and play better than Detroit, if for some reason the Capitals can play a little bit better and catch Detroit, and Detroit falls
not
off.
A lofty expectation. Those teams are like a point or two behind them.
That's like a top 12 pick. And if they win the lottery, that's a second overall pick. So I would much rather have Detroit than worry about Brady when he becomes a UFA. He'll be 27 years old or 28 years old, and you could go sign him.
Don't count out Columbus, by the way. They're only 2 points out of the playoff spot right now, behind Ottawa, so you could get both.
Yeah, and Columbus won last night.
Where Ottawa and Detroit miss out on the playoffs, and Columbus ends up in that final playoff
I
spot.
think Ottawa's going to get in. I just, the way that they've been playing as of late, and Brady's kind of going on a tear in this last week, so I think Ottawa gets in over both. But yeah, I would much rather root for Detroit to lose.
From Dirk Diggler's unit, Alex, if you could pick any player from the NHL to start a franchise with, who would you choose? I think this is very easy.
Go ahead.
Macklin Celebrini. It's not close for me. Age. Like watching the San Jose Sharks the other night. I did some scoreboard watching. I was watching that game that they play. He's just relentless.
Yeah.
In the offensive zone, the defense, he's amazing. So, yeah, I would go with him.
I'm 100% with you there. It's Macklin Celebrini.
2 years ago, it would have been McDavid. No questions asked. But Celebrini's now that guy because he's just younger.
I actually think 2 years ago it would have been McKinnon. I think I would go McKinnon over McDavid.
McDavid?
He's 30 now, so I don't know what McDavid's at.
See, I would still take McDavid. McKinnon would have been up there.
I think
McDavid's 1 year younger.
Is he? So
actually, I didn't realize
McKinnon's just got that attitude that I'd want on my team on top of putting up the points. But, yeah, I mean, if we're going age, Macklin Celebrini without question.
Yeah. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 972, guys, what has led to the fall off from Kyrou? He's had a really down year, and it's disappointing. Wish he could get back to form in a Blues uniform, but it sounds like he's going to be gone. It's a really great question, Alex. What have you seen that's gone wrong for him? Because it's one thing to say, hey, man, he's not a guy you can win with, blah, blah, blah. He's just been bad for like 6 weeks now. What's going on?
I mean, honestly, it's a case that should be studied after this season if he's playing for another team, because I truly think that if he goes to another team next year, he's going to go back to what he's always been in terms of a 30 to 35 goal scorer. And people are going to be like, oh, what's going on? It was like, you gave this away. I just don't think it's matching here. I mean, what's gone wrong? He's not shooting the puck as much. I think right now he's got a total shot attempts at 341 this season with 4 games to go. Last year he had 465. The previous year 506. The previous year 470. But his ice time has gone away. He's playing 1549 versus 1729 last year. He doesn't hit the net as much. His shooting percentage is at 10%, which last year was 15%. He floats around like 13 or 14. But it's also like he doesn't use his speed. I mean, like, there's times that he coasts through the game. Like last night, for example, that Nichushkin shorthanded goal. He misses his scoring opportunity on that rush up the ice, and then he doesn't get back, and the 2-on-1 results in the goal. Like, he should be that line last night played against Landeskog, Kadri, and Nichushkin. Who's the fastest skater out of those three guys? Trick question, none of them. They're all slow.
Yeah.
Kyrou should always be the best player on the ice with those matchups, or at least the fastest skater on the ice. And he's not. So I don't know this to be true, but I think it's probably just a matter of, look, you guys don't want me here. I'm not playing with the guys that can help my offense. So it's a little bit of like, look, let's just get the season over with and figure out where I'm going to go.
I wonder if there's anything to the Logan Stanley hit from last year in the playoffs having a lasting impact on how he
in terms
plays.
of fear going into the corner.
Yeah, just overall, that hit changed the way he played in the playoffs, and he hasn't really looked like the same dude ever since. I don't know. That may be reading too much in causation versus correlation. I don't know, but
yeah,
I wonder if there's something to that.
Maybe, but I mean, he's never been a guy that goes into the corners, and we've discussed that a lot. Now, maybe he's a little bit more timid when it comes to that. I wonder, too, if it's just a matter of, look, they took Holloway away from him, and Holloway was the guy that made that piece work. And they tried to go Thomas with Kyrou. They tried Holloway and Kyrou this year, and it never really panned out. I just think Kyrou is one of those guys that is engaged when he wants to be, and that's a hard thing to do to stay consistent in the National Hockey League.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. 12:30, Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, will join us here on BK and Ferrario. It is 12:02. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up next, Jordan Walker keeps finding success. There is one caveat, though. It might be a big one if you believe in it. We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. Alex, have you looked at where Jordan Walker ranks right now in OPS among Major League Baseball hitters?
I would imagine it's pretty high up there, Brandon.
15th, to be exact. Right ahead of superstar, known superstar, according to our own Tanner Hendricks and Christian Yelich.
Yeah. How many years has Christian Yelich done that, though?
A few.
Yeah, and how many days has Jordan Walker done it?
About 12.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's put the hat on and say he's amazing.
Brendan Donovan, by the way. Donnie is 6th in Major League Baseball with an 1,100 OPS. I'm so glad he's tearing it up for the Mariners. That's awesome.
You don't know what you got when it's gone.
The irony here is we did.
Yeah, that's true.
The rest of Major League Baseball seemed to not understand what Brendan Donovan was, but we all here in St. Louis knew, and I'm thrilled that he's going to get his flowers with the Mariners.
Crappy part is you just didn't get that other piece in the trade for him. You know, you didn't go get that big bat you could have got.
All right, so Jordan Walker, he's been awesome so far this year. There is a caveat to that, though. I put on the conductor hat earlier today. Like, this is not something that matters to me, but I do want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Because Josh Jacobs put it out there earlier today on Twitter. I think he's doing an awesome job this year, both for Redbird Rants and also Cardinals.com, covering the Cardinals, especially on the road. He said, one of the things that I'm interested to watch with Walker over the next few weeks is how far his splits will go. So far, most of his damage has come against lefties. I honestly didn't notice this. I guess when you think about it anecdotally, it makes sense, but I hadn't noticed how bad he has been so far this year against righties in terms of just the overall production. Against lefties in 12 at-bats, obviously limited sample, as is everything right now, he's batting .500 with a 1,400 slugging percentage. Not OPS, slugging percentage. He has 3 home runs in 12 at-bats and I think 2 doubles against lefties so far this year. He's been mashing them. Against righties, Jordan Walker is batting .215 with 1 home run in 28 at-bats. Now, if you look under the hood, a lot of that is like batted ball luck. He's been pretty unfortunate against against righties rather, and he's still hitting the crap out of the baseball. It suggests that, hey, you know, if the expected numbers are to be believed, he'd be like a 265 average, 520 slugging percentage. The under the hood stuff still looks good against righties. Do you care about this, though, Alex? Do you care about the fact that right now he is very splitty in the early going?
No, I don't, because right now it's not a matter of what side of the pitcher he's hitting. It's more about just his ability to make contact and not swing at the pitches that he can't do anything with, and really just his composure at the plate. That's all that matters right now for Jordan Walker. And in the opening segment, I feel like people got this narrative that I'm rooting against Jordan Walker. It's not the case at all. I'm glad that he's having success, but I got to see it a little bit longer. So you could give me those splits and say, well, he's much better against lefties than righties. Don't care. He's making contact. He's doing something that he has not been able to do this season in terms of have effective at-bats at the major league level and doing it consistently. So by all means, man, if you become a splitty hitter and only hit against lefties, we can address that problem down the road. But for right now, just continue to find ways to make effective at-bats is all I care about.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about it right now, and it's twofold. One, it's still a small sample size, so I don't want to read too much into it just yet. But two, I mean, you mentioned the under-the-hood numbers. The under-hood numbers seem to suggest he's still making the hard contact against right-handed pitching, and right now it's some bad luck. Now, if that continues to be the case like 2 months in and we're still talking about this being a splits thing, then I'm going to have a different tone towards those numbers. But for right now, I just think it is bad luck against right-handed pitching. And I go back to what he did in his first year when he had success at the big league level. He actually was terrible against left-handed pitching compared to right-handed pitching. So I don't think this is going to be something that suddenly he doesn't hit righties. I think this is ultimately going to equal out to where it ends up the advanced metrics will get closer to in line with what the actual numbers will say, where right now they're pretty far apart. So I'm not overly concerned about it right now.
I do think this gets into what you've noticed early on this year, T-Bone, which is his ability to crush changeups. He has been great against off-speed pitches, and the reason why that would show up is because a lot of the time, this has kind of become a new thing in Major League Baseball lately, like the opposite-handedness, you're going to that changeup a lot against them right now because it doesn't have those significant splits that like a fastball would against righties versus lefties. So you're probably, this is my guess, I have not looked under the hood on this, but my guess is he's doing a lot of the damage against lefties that are throwing him those off-speed pitches. So that could be part of this as well. And I will be curious to see how lefties adjust. Do they go to something different? Do they say, you know what, the changeup is clearly not the pitch to go to against Walker. maybe we'll go with something different here. Maybe we go more cut fastball against him. And that is where you get into the, how does he adjust back? The league adjusts to him. How does he adjust back? Is there some way for him to continue to do damage against those pitches? It's something that will continue to follow on. No doubt about that. In the outfield, outside of Jordan Walker, it's mostly been miserable prior to yesterday when it comes to the overall production. Church had gone through that long offer and then hits the home run yesterday. Sajacy prior to yesterday hadn't done a whole lot, but his numbers overall look fine because it's a limited sample. And Victor Scott, just outside of the bunt hits that he's had, which are awesome. I enjoy watching them, don't get me wrong. He hasn't done a ton at the plate either. Today, they're going with Nathan Church in center and Thomas Sajacy in left. Game starts coming up at 3:05. I'm guessing the Fast Lane will not be doing the lineup game today, so I apologize. I hopefully am not ruining anything for you guys.
Spoiled it.
I saw yesterday Derek Gould put out a story on the plan in left field. He talked with us and said like he thinks Sajacy is going to get a bit of a run here in left. I don't know that the comments from Ollie supported that. He seemed to suggest like, yeah, we're just going to play the matchups gear for the foreseeable future. Do you guys think that's the right way to go about it, or how would you stack things up for left field over the next week or so?
I would go to Thomas Sajacy and just give him the runway like you did with Church early on in the season. I mean, the home run was awesome. Maybe Nathan Church can be a bench bat and a fourth outfielder. That's not a bad thing, especially to have a guy who can come off the bench and hit a home run for you at a timely situation. But I've said this before. I think Thomas Sajacy is more in the picture of what this team's future is going to look like than Nathan Church. So I would look at Sajacy and say, look, we gave Nathan Church, what was it, the first 8-9 games of everyday left fielder? We kept putting him out there. Let's give Thomas Sajacy 8 or 9 games to be the everyday left fielder.
Yeah, I would go Sajacy and I'd give him runway. I'd give him like a 6-game runway. Basically what they did with Church, as Alex said there to begin the year. And the reason that I would do it is I want to give these guys the opportunity, and if you hit, you play, but I want to give them the opportunity to stay in a rhythm, right? The thing that they ran victim to in 2023, I think, as part of their problems in the outfield, was you play a game, you're off of it. You play a game, you're off of it. You can't really get into a rhythm of the flow of the game, and I think that's the way they need to approach this. You know what? Church had his run. He didn't hit, went through an 0 for 20 spell before he got the home run yesterday. All right, Thomas Sajacy, here's your turn. That doesn't mean we're casting Nathan Church to the side. Maybe Sajacy doesn't hit in his 6 games to give him runway to. All right, well, guess what? We're going right back to Nathan Church, and we're going to see how it looks again. I think that's the way you have to approach it, and I think that's kind of what they're doing. If you look at it, Sajacy's in the lineup again. I know Ollie said right now it's about the splits of like ground ball pitchers. I'll be honest, I don't know how much I buy that. I feel like that could be an answer that's just to not completely throw Church under the bus. But that's the way I would approach it. It's Sajacy's turn now. He gets the next like 6 games, and we can reassess from there.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Let's see what Sajacy can do. You've got this opportunity right now while Lars Nootbaar is on the IL and while you're trying to figure out, hey, who's going to step up down in AAA to get those opportunities too. I'd give Sajacy this chance, see what he can do, see if he runs with it. If not, then you go back to Nathan Church and you kind of continue this rotation between those two guys. Speaking of the outfield, Victor Scott still doesn't have a stolen base since opening day. It's really weird, guys. He has 1 attempt since then. Now, some of this he's just not getting on, but I would really like to see him be more aggressive. Do you know who leads the Cardinals in stolen bases right now?
Well, if it's not Scott.
Win.
He's tied with Scott.
He's not been on either.
He's got 2 stolen bases, as does
Walker
Victor Scott.
Or Nathan Church?
Walker has 1.
I honestly have no idea who to answer on this.
I'm just naming guys, so.
Well, so far you've named 3 of the 5 guys that have a stolen base this year.
So I'm
you're doing well.
I'm on par with us.
Weatherhold?
Yep. He has 3 stolen bases so far in the season.
Boy, and I feel like I've not seen him run. That's why I was running through my head. Who could it be?
The reason I bring this up, Weatherholt shouldn't be leading this team in stolen bases. Credit to him. Full kudos. If he's at 3 at this point in the season, that's great. Vic's got to be that guy. That's his value. He's got to be somebody that can get into the lineup and cause havoc with his speed. That's why we were all so excited about him coming off of that opening day game, because he was super aggressive, got on and immediately was going. He was convicted about it. And since then, it just hasn't. It hasn't materialized in the same way. We need to see more of that.
The thing, though, I wouldn't overly panic about it yet is and like this is more of a field thing than anything. I'd almost have to go back and re-see every time that he is on base. I feel like a lot of times now recently there's been somebody on base ahead of him. What I mean by that, someone's on second base.
Well, move him over. Do double steal. You got to get him.
Okay, well, we don't want that guy to get out going to third. It's probably Pages that's out there at second base.
baby.
That's why, because like with the more I'm thinking about, I'm thinking of his bunts, and if he's on base, I feel like someone's always ahead of him. That's why I think his numbers are down right now, because I don't think he's lost the willingness to go. I mean, he showed it on opening day. I don't think it just disappeared.
Yeah, we need to see more of it. Alongside Alex and
Run
T-Bone on
through
BK,
bias.
it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. That guy sure as hell has not been on a whole lot in front of him. We'll get into that coming up here in just a little bit. Coming up next,
Oh,
the Blues
tough
are going to
guys.
have to figure out this secondary scoring thing. What's going on? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. What happened to the Blues secondary scoring? I thought coming into the year there was a chance this was one of their strengths as a team. It has been the opposite. Alex, I saw yesterday Matthew DeFranks put this out on Twitter. He just listed, I think it was the last 11 goals by the St. Louis Blues. Here is that list. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, Holloway, Berggren, Suter, Parayko, Holloway, Thomas. 3 of the last 11 goals have come from somebody other than that top line. That's just not something you can lean on to that same degree. Now, if your top 2 guys are, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, maybe you see something like this for an 11-game stretch where those 2 guys are just otherworldly. They're going on an absolute heater, and they're, playing like the best players in the world, which is exactly what they are. God bless Thomas, God bless Holloway and Snuggie. That's just not them. They're not McDavid, Draisaitl, etc. How do they fix this in the offseason, Alex? Because I think everybody has clearly identified it's a problem. They've got to get more production, really from the rest of their lineup, but especially from that second line. How do they do that? What's the plan?
How you do it is you have to, one, get rid of, in my opinion, Kyrou and Buchnevich, and you're going to have to go out there and find other play drivers. Like Monty was asked about this last night, just in terms of where that secondary scoring has gone, and he essentially said we just lack those guys that can hunt the pucks and drive offense. And I look at how Thomas Holloway and Snuggerud have performed. It's not just because Robert Thomas is an elite playmaker and you're seeing it. It's because both Dylan Holloway and Jimmy Snuggerud hunt pucks with Robert Thomas. You've got 3 guys that will go in on the forecheck, win a board battle, come off of the boards with it, and find ways to get it on net. Now go look at the second line that played last night with Dvorsky, Kyrou, and Drouin. Who's hunting the puck on that line? Who's going into the
Dvorsky?
Sure, but the center has a lot more responsibilities than the winger. The wingers are typically the F1s that go in.
I'm just out of those 2.
Yeah.
The answer is no, buddy.
The third line was Pew Suter and Neighbors and Berggren, and that line actually does have guys that can hunt pucks. It's just you don't have a lot of guys that can keep puck possession other than Berggren. So I think
he had a couple of really troubling decisions with the puck yesterday.
And that's what you're going to have with Berggren. He can make some elite plays, but he's also going to make some bad decisions with the puck at times. So I look at the makeup of their team, and I put in a Stenberg, I put in a Neighbors, I put in a Carbonneau. I think all 3 of those guys can contribute offensively. And I think Dalibor Dvorsky is going to get better. It's just there's so much that goes into playing the center position that you have a lot more responsibilities, so the offense takes a little bit of a back seat. You're lacking another guy that can drive plays, and you're lacking another guy that can hunt pucks. And maybe that can be Carbonneau. Maybe you draft somebody that can fall into that. But to me, I think you start those conversations by removing Kyrou and Buchnevich off the middle 6. I don't think either of those guys can be that. I said yesterday about playing Buch on the 4th line. Kyrou, it seems like you're probably ready for a split, but you're going to have to go out there and find guys that can emulate the way that Dylan Holloway plays, to where when the puck goes in, he's going to come away with it along the boards and find a way to create offense.
Let's go through this real quick. Holloway, Thomas, and Snuggie, we all think are going to be back next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
At this point.
They better be.
We think Dvorsky's going to be in your lineup in the middle 6.
Yeah.
Suter?
I think he'll be here because I
don't know what the alternative plan is at center.
The alternative would be you draft a center, like you get into the top 5 and you draft this Caleb Malholtra, but I don't think he's here next year. So I think Pew Suter, the reason he stayed at the deadline was because he's on this team.
And Neighbors we think is going to be here.
Yes.
In the middle 6 somewhere. So that's 6 of your top 9. You're talking about 3 other winger spots that are available. The players currently in those spots are Stenberg, Drouin, Kyrou, Berggren. Those are the 4 guys that are maintaining those 3 spots. You could throw Buch in there too, although last night obviously on the 4th line. How many of them do you think will be maintaining one of those spots next year?
1.
Just Stenberg?
Yeah.
I think that's probably right.
I think Berggren would be a floater that could be 13th forward, comes in and out of the lineup, and I don't believe Kyrou will be here, nor do I think Drouin will be here.
I think that's probably right. Do you think that Carbonneau is here?
Yeah, I think Carbonneau, as long as he has a good camp and doesn't have any issues, I think he's a third-line winger for you.
So he's basically next year where Snuggie was to begin this season.
Yeah, or Berggren is right now, to where you see him on the third line playing with a Pew suit or something.
And that's kind of what Snuggie was early on, right?
Yeah.
This year.
Depth piece, yeah. Or
So
second.
the reason I bring that means there's one spot in your lineup that we're talking about here. And it's a possibility that that's the top 10 pick that you get, right? Like whoever that winger is that you could potentially draft in the top 10, that might just be the player that is being plugged in. Is that good enough?
No.
If you're talking about next year, basically it's the players that you currently have, Carbonneau, and a rookie.
Not in the short run, I would
Well,
say.
maybe it's not a rookie, though. Maybe it is some type of trade that you pull off. Maybe you trade for a NHL player right now that falls into that spot. But I also think you asked the question, is that good enough? Good enough for what? I think it's good enough to compete for the playoffs as long as your best players show up early on and your defense and your goaltending show up.
But you believe it's good enough to compete for the playoffs next year?
Yeah, I think so. If you're putting a rookie into that spot, that means he earns his way onto the roster from being a pick. You're not just gifting it to him, or you're trading multiple pieces to go out there, whether it's Kyrou, whether it's multiple first-round picks, whether it's another top prospect that you have. You're trading those pieces to go out there and acquire said winger, or you acquire a second-line center and shift Suter to a wing.
So that's I agree with T-Bone. I don't think that's good enough.
Yeah,
I think
hear
you
a lot
need
of what
more
you have.
offense.
And the reason I say that is, like, I don't see a lot of 20 goal scorers in that. Like Neighbors, for example. I think he can get back to being a 20 goal scorer. But, like, if he's on a line with Suter or Dvorsky as his center, that's not a guy that's driving play to where it's going to all crash the net and he's going to get a bunch of goals. Like, that would be Thomas, who he'd have to almost be paired with if he's going to get to that point. Like, I think all it is just doing musical chairs to end up in, if not the same spot, close to it.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think the expectations for me with Carbonneau next year would be kind of similar to the production that you've had this year out of Kyrou. Now, the expectations going in for Kyrou were to be much more than this, and so the overall production has been highly disappointing. But if I told you next year Carbonneau comes in and scores 20 goals, you guys feel pretty good about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good season, and that's kind of the process. That's where Kyrou probably is / should have been this year. And that includes quite a dry spell right now. I don't... Like, who's the guy that's taking this massive step from where they were this year? Because that's probably what's going to be required for this team to be better offensively.
Well, it's health from that top line, first of all. Taking the next step, that's why I think it's not a winger that you need to go acquire. I think it's a centerman. I think it's another guy that can drive plays for you, drive offense for you. I think it's a second-line
Suter
center.
comes out of the middle.
And Suter comes out of the middle and becomes either a winger for you or becomes a 13th forward, or you move on from him.
Isn't that what, like, half of the league is saying right now, though? Because we talked about this last year at the deadline, where everybody needs that second-line center, so much so that Braden Shin, who, for the Blues, was a winger / third-line center, a lot of teams across the league looked at him and said, that's our answer as the second-line center. And so those guys are, I mean, their value is gold. And you have to trade a ton in order to acquire them. And most teams that have them, it's like having a number one starter. Well, why am I giving this up when everybody across the league needs it? I'll just hoard all these centers that I have on my roster. I don't know where you find that. I think it's easier to get that winger that we're talking about. And this all gets me to my personal endpoint. I think they need to make a trade for that. And that might include a Stenberg, Kyrou, Neighbors, somebody like that. It's going to be potentially A, unpopular, and B, highly costly. But maybe it also includes that draft pick that we've been so excited about. Maybe the Blues say, hey, we're going to deal Kyrou plus the 6th overall selection and Jiricek. And in return, we get this, I don't know who the player is, but a hypothetical, legit top 6 winger, because we believe that that is the thing that can unlock our scoring abilities that clearly dried up this season. And that player can be what we all wanted Jordan Kyrou to be, because then you're not expecting somebody like a Carbonneau to come in and immediately unlock this lineup as a rookie, which I think is kind of unfair to somebody at his age and somebody coming from the QMJHL.
Yeah, and I think, like, you can't go into the next season with marginal upgrades at best on the second line, because I agree with what Alex was saying. Like, well, the hope would be, like, you asked, where's that big upgrade coming from? And Alex said, well, hopefully your top line is healthy. That would be my answer there as well. even
then
if
that's the
even if
same
they
problem.
do exactly. Well, and odds are too.
If
By
those
the way,
guys were healthy, we'd be talking about the
Yeah,
playoffs right now, though.
well, I don't think we would be, and here's why. Because like right now, the Blues since the Olympic break have the second best points percentage in the NHL. It's not sustainable with one line rolling.
Because if one of those guys were to get hurt, because you can't just expect them to be healthy for
Exactly.
82 games, now you're screwed.
Yeah, I think like best case scenario, if you only had like one line and it was rolling like the Thomas, Holloway, and Snuggerud line, and by the way, at some point that line is going to go cold as well. I think you're talking like 500 points percentage, and that's before we even have a conversation about like injuries getting there. Like we can be excited about what the top line is doing. Them dragging this team along to a 725 points percentage is not going to be sustainable. I don't think it's sustainable. Ask them to be 600 points percentage at that point.
A lot of people on the YouTube chat, and Alex, I think this is probably where you're at as well, are saying they're not moving Jiricek. That would be a dumb move. I wouldn't just do it willy-nilly, but if somebody becomes available and that's the price that is the demand, like if Brady Tkachuk or Jason Robertson or somebody in that ilk becomes available this offseason, you're not getting them for just nothing. You're not going to be able to give up your spare parts in order to get one of those wingers that really opens up this offense. In order to get a guy that you lock in for 30-plus goals and plays decent defense and plays the style that you want, you're talking about giving up real assets. And so that means probably Thomas becoming part of the conversation or Hofer becoming part of the conversation, or you dip into your prospect pool / draft pick capital. And that's where you get into, Jiricek is one of the top guys that could be a trade chip for you. I understand people don't like it, but that's the kind of stuff you have to be comfortable with if you're going to get a legit upgrade in your top six.
Yeah, I don't believe they have any appetite to move him because their identity is defense and coming from that side of the ice, and that's how Jim Montgomery plays. But your point is valid. Like, you're going to have to throw a lot in. This world where you just trade Kyrou and go get a 30-goal, 70-point player is, I mean, it's just not, it's la-la land. You're going to have to trade a lot that you don't want to trade, whether it's another one of these young wingers off of your team, whether it's multiple pieces in your minor league system. You've got the 10th-ranked pipeline, according to Scott Wheeler, so you've got pieces, but it comes down to what you want. And I think it doesn't matter if it's a center or a winger. You just have to find something that can drive offense. I think they can be competitive if they can actually show up in October and November. But if you're talking about like making a push and like turning this into a consistent team that can be like what they were from 2011 on, yeah, you're going to have to, one, move pieces out, two, bring more play drivers in and hope that the development continues with some of these guys.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. We'll get Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, thoughts on all of this coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Hey, listen, when you call Classic Air Care and you have them come out to your house for a $79 tune-up, what can you expect? It's really simple. Outstanding customer service and experience and knowledge that is better than any of the rest. And when they come in, they're going to do things like this. They're going to check the air temperature when it leaves the unit. They're going to go to a spot in the house, and they're going to make sure that that temperature variance is where it needs to be, where it's coming out of one of the vents. They're going to make sure that the airflow is flowing properly. They're going to make sure that the equipment is all in shape, that everything is cleaned up, that everything is the way it needs to be. If you've got if you have a humidifier, make sure that that is on it and working properly. By the way, if you don't have one of those, I recommend you getting one from Classic Air Care. That's a big difference in how dry and how comfortable your house can be. But the reality of it is for just a $79 tune-up, that's probably the most important thing you could do right now this spring. Nobody wants to lose their air conditioner in a St. Louis heat wave, and you know it's coming. This is really simple. It's not sexy. It's just how do you maintain the equipment in your house to make sure that it's running efficiently and as well as it can for as long as it can? How do you extend the life of important pieces of equipment like this? You make sure that it's maintained and taken care of. That's what Classic Air Care does. Book an appointment online at classicaircare.com. You can give them a call as well. Again, it's just a $79 tune-up to make sure you're good for the summer. Classic Air Care. They've been making people comfortable since 1926.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the SportsCenter update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Last night, the Blues fell to the Colorado Avalanche. They will be back in action tomorrow night when they host the Winnipeg Jets. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. And the Cardinals rubber match their three-game set in D.C. is later on this afternoon. 3:05 will be first pitch as Miles Michaelis is on the mound for the Nationals. Michael McGreevy will get the start for St. Louis. The SportsCenter update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, on the call last night for the Blues loss at home against the Colorado Avalanche. Their playoff odds now down to 0.5% according to Money Puck. Kerbs, appreciate the time, man. How you doing this morning, afternoon?
I'm good. I don't those playoff odds for me. I don't know. They change every game, so I don't care what they say.
Well, they change based upon the information. Come on, Kerbs. Come on.
Yeah, but your odds of making listen, the odds are we knew like a week ago the odds of making a playoffs aren't good. So what that number is what that number is. The snag is that was you put yourself in such a bind where needing back-to-back wins over Colorado is one heck of a tough task.
Whatever the odds, they're unlikely to make the playoffs. I just wanted to put that out there. All right, Kerbs.
Right.
Blues now, a lot of our conversation today has grown more big picture as opposed to what we saw specifically last night. But What we saw last night, I think, is indicative in a lot of ways of some of the bigger picture growing pains that this team has gone through this year. And you look at the lack of secondary scoring that they've had. A lot of that goes to Pavel Buchnevich and Jordan Kyrou, and we got to bring in Jake Neighbors into this mix as well, who does not have a goal since the Olympic break. Kerbs, what have you seen that has led to the drought from the secondary scoring? It's been a bit surprising to watch.
I think for me, a couple of things. Number one, you're elevating Dalibor Dvorsky, so you're putting him in a position. He's facing a lot more. That's just, there's a seasoning issue there. Not a problem. That's not a bad scenario. But with the trades that were made and the direction the team continues to go in, they had to get him there. So there's that aspect of that, continuing to learn the center spot. And what you're really seeing is a lack of depth at that center position. It's something that they kind of saw coming at the beginning of the year, and then tried to address it with Pius Suter and stuff, but really not having that dynamic number 2 center has been an issue all season for this St. Louis Blues team. And then honestly, guys that should be driving the bus more, and you've got 2 really high players in a Kyrou and a Buchnevich, and just the consistent play out of the guys that you're expecting to be, your core just hasn't been there enough to help pull some of the other guys into the fight.
Kerbs, that's been the biggest conversation, at least from last night into today on our post-game show and on our show and on the podcast, was, what has happened to Jordan Kyrou? I think I looked at it last night. Since the Olympic break, he has scored, 4 or 5 goals, but only 2 of them have been against a goaltender in between the pipes because he's gotten some empty net goals. The speed doesn't feel like it's there. The offensive zone time doesn't feel like it's there. And once again, it feels like the consistency is lacked.
You know what? It becomes a real interesting topic, I think, as the Blues head into the offseason here. Because obviously Jordan controls his own destiny with the full no-trade clause kicking in last July. My first thing is I really want to kind of be somewhat careful here and wait to find out if at the end of the season you find out that there's an injury or that something was up. Kind of like how, it wasn't until Robert Thomas was finally put on the shelf that we found out he really had something nagging all season long, right? But I think because of the Olympics, they wanted to see if they could work through it. So that's number one. But if that's not the case, the reality of it is you're looking at a guy that is being paid $8.1 million that has goals in 8 of his last 38 games. And he's supposed to be basically your top right wing, and the way he's paid, the way his history, his point totals, what he's shown he can do, and look, I temper some things a little bit because there's been so many guys with offensive numbers down. There's clearly a team-oriented issue that is in this mix here, but. I'll compare him and Buchnevich, for example. Pavel Buchnevich finds different ways to impact the game. He's on a penalty kill. In that kind of scenario, they put him at center. He's battled on that aspect of things. Jordan Kyrou has to impact the game with his speed and with his skill. And it has just been, if you're being blunt and honest about it, and I would think he'd have to agree with it, it's just been, for whatever reason, highly inconsistent. And you have to, if you're the Blues, you're going to have to make the decision. Hey, is this kind of more what we're seeing, or is this an anomaly? But clearly what we've seen is guys like Holloway, Snuggerud, Thomas, and guys like that, pick up, the pace after that trade deadline and really kind of show you what they got. We haven't seen that consistently enough from Jordan. And dude, there were spurts in that game last night where you saw his speed and how Colorado couldn't grab the puck from him when he used it. And why he doesn't use it more, well, that's the big challenge for the coaching staff. But it is also, I think, a big evaluation issue that Blues management is going to be facing.
Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us here on 101 ESPN. Heard him on the call last night for the Blues versus the Colorado Avalanche. He joins us each and every Wednesday on BK and Ferrario. Kerbs, I did want to ask you about Jake Neighbors, who all of us love, and he plays that physical style. He finds ways to impact games. This is not a, Jake Neighbors is bad at hockey conversation, but he is going through a significant drought scoring-wise as well. In his last 28 games, he has 2 goals, and the one that everybody's honing in on is really since the Olympic break, he has 0 goals. What have you seen from his game? Is it just puck luck, or is there something more going on here?
I think, and I was watching him closely on some stuff last night, BK. Like, there were a couple face-offs, and you saw him, as soon as that puck was won, he just went right to the front of the net. You know, I think he's an extremely coachable guy. I think he's one that, that the coaches like the effort and they like the battle that they're seeing. When I talked to Jim Montgomery on his last road trip about some things like that, he said part of our problem is we're still just not getting the puck to the front of the net enough for some of these guys. You know, which again is a depth issue for me, and it's that compete issue along the walls and how you do it. And so, I think his consistency level probably could find another notch or two as well. But you still see him going into those areas where when the puck does get there, you see that battle there. And I also do think, and I don't know, this might be a little bit of that sports psychology stuff we hang too much of a hat on, right? But that trade of Brady and Shen, I really do believe has had an impact on him. And he's kind of learning now his first stint in the NHL now without that mentor that he had there. And I also think because of just who he is, there's that natural leader in him that I almost feel like he's taken some pressure and put it on himself. And maybe that impacts things too. But when you talk to him, guys, you get the right quote, you hear the right thing. There's a confidence still in him, and you don't seem to see that wavering. He's one of those that I lump into, the all-around team depth thing, I think, is affecting some of those numbers.
Kerbs, when it comes to the depth, we just had this conversation going into next year and how they evaluate things. Do you think it's a matter of needing to find another centerman to add to that depth down the middle, or is it just a matter of finding somebody that can play on that wing in the second line to put the puck in the net?
Alex, I think it's actually even more than just that one guy, whether it be a second-line center or a second-line winger. Like, when I start to watch teams, that are really going, and I watch the way the Tampa Bay Lightning play the puck, and I watch the way the Colorado Avalanche play the puck, and the style that they have and the creativity. I mean, they're just – the moment one guy touches the puck for Colorado, they're putting it to someplace else, and a player's moving into that space. It's just a level of play that the St. Louis Blues do not have the depth of right now. And I don't know that they've got the skill for that. Now, I think more is coming. So you're seeing what's happening with Robert Thomas now with the shooter on both sides, right? A guy like a Justin Carbonneau is, to me, somebody that could really change the game up for a Dalibor Dvorsky, stuff like that. So I think some of it's coming. And will the style of play change? To where you get out of just dump it in, grind it out of the corner, and then, muck it to the front of the net, and you see some of that skill that you're seeing with Colorado. It will. But here's the biggest challenge, guys. You're still seeing teams that are doing this. You got to do it with picks that are not top three. Colorado's probably or Chicago's going to probably end up with another top three pick, and eventually, this all catches fire. So to me, it's a skill issue, and it's just one where you've got to continue to find the depth. And then at some point in time, and I don't think this time is it, I don't think this summer is it, that's when the Blues are going to have to start dabbling back in. And as you guys were mentioning, at what point do prospects get moved for more surefire seasoned players that really put you over the top, like they did when they signed Bozak, they traded for O'Reilly, and then they dabbled in that market for a while. They decided to get away from it and go young again, but at some point they'll be playing in that sandbox again.
Kerbs, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks so much for hopping on with us today. We'll talk with you again next week.
Okay, guys. See you at the rink this week.
You got it. That's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us here on BK and Ferrario. Appreciate his time as always. I heard him say it. I know we've talked about it. I really... My intrusive thought for the summer, Alex, we'll get into this more as we get closer to it, but my intrusive thought for the summer is they're going to be putting way too much on Carbonneau being the answer for this lineup, and him being the guy that unlocks everything.
Yeah, I don't think the Blues will.
Really
I think fans are. I think fans are feeling as if he's going to be the solution to all of their secondary scoring woes. I don't know if the Blues are going to put that. I don't know if he makes the team from the Blues' perspective. I think he does have to come into camp and earn it. He was pretty close to it this past year, but they obviously said he's not ready for it and sent him back to juniors. I don't think they're going to be going into this saying he's our savior and we're putting him in the top 6 and on the number 1 power play unit
if
immediately.
If they don't make big moves, that's exactly what they'd be doing, though. If they decide to trade Kyrou for a defenseman, and otherwise you basically just come back with what you have right now,
he'll earn it like Weatherholt earned it.
Yeah. I don't really see where else that offense is coming from.
And they've done it before. And the person that they did it before was with Neighbors when Perron left. They said Neighbors is the guy. Now, they didn't do what you're saying.
They put Neighbors on the fourth line,
They didn't put him on the top line, but he was the offseason,
I remember when we talked about it, we said, hey, if you look at this offense, I don't know where you're getting more from, and they're going to be asking. I remember we had this exact conversation. They're going to be basically asking Jake Neighbors to replace the production that was lost from David Perron. And that just felt like a lot to put on a young guy, and it was too much. They didn't get that out of Jake Neighbors that year. Now, Jake Neighbors is a good hockey player. I like him. That doesn't mean he has failed. That doesn't mean he hasn't lived up to expectations or anything like that. It's just too much to put on him too quickly. Just like if the Cardinals were asking this year for J.J. Weatherholtz to become, I don't know, Ketel Marte, it'd be too much. It's not realistic. But they came in knowing this is not a year in which we are trying to make the playoffs. If the Blues' plan next year is not to make the playoffs, but is simply to get these guys more opportunities, and they come in and they know, hey, this is still part of the retool. Carbonneau's going to be here. He's going to get big-time minutes, but they set the expectations properly right away and say, hey, we're still building. Give us a little bit of time here. We're going to probably need another year or two. All right, that's a different conversation. But if the plan next year is to get right back to the playoffs, to really compete at a meaningful level again, and the only real addition that you make in your top 9 is Carbonneau, that's a concern for me, a real concern.
I think if they don't make any moves and they bring these younger guys in, you're in the competitiveness for a playoff spot, because look at the Western Conference and all of these teams fighting for it. Like, you're in it with LA and San Jose and Winnipeg and those teams. It's that next level. And I don't think they're going to be going into next season thinking like, all right, now we're going to turn it up to the next level. Unless they go out there and make an aggressive trade for an NHL talented player. Then that's them saying we're looking to take an extra another step with this one. I think they view this as, well, we'll have, even if we move Kyrou, let's say they get a defenseman or a forward, something like that, they'll have Neighbors and Stenberg, Dvorsky, Buchnevich, Berggren. Those are guys that they'll be like, yeah, they'll play in our second line, and Carbonneau will slow play it into a third line role. And I don't think the Blues are going to view this as you're coming in and you're playing 18 minutes a night, playing the number 1 power play unit. It's going to be, you're going to go in and earn it, but we do look at you as a secondary scoring option because of your shot. And he's a different player than Neighbors because the shot is a flick of the wrist can go into the back of the net. And that can be different. It's just a matter of, can you find space? Which, to Kerb's point, I think that's part of the problem for different players on the roster right now. You just don't have those types of players. Like Robert Thomas, I think his ability unlocked because he finally found guys that could think at the same level as him and take the shot and actually score, versus when he was playing with Kyrou and Buchnevich and you just weren't getting that same production.
Let me put this a different way. Maybe this will hit home a little bit more, and we'll have a lot of more time to talk about this. Would you say that it's been a successful year for Jimmy Snuggerud?
Yeah.
I agree. I think this has been a great year for Jimmy Snuggerud.
Yeah.
And would you say he's probably further along in his development overall as a player than Carbonneau will be when he arrives next year?
Yeah, probably.
Because he played college.
He played at college and he got the playoffs last year.
Bigger transition for Carbonneau coming to the NHL level than Snuggerud.
Agreed.
Snuggerud scored 17 goals this year. Asking Carbonneau to be a guy that comes in and scores 20-plus immediately is just asking a lot.
Oh, I don't disagree with you
and
there.
that's what you would need for him to come in and improve the offense, because you're removing Kyrou from the equation. He's roughly at 20 this year, and you'd be bringing in Carbonneau for basically that spot in the lineup. So you either need Buch to get back to what he was, or you need Neighbors to take this huge step forward, or Dvorsky to take a huge step forward, or something. And you also have to replace the production that Braden Shin had for you for the first half of the season, and the production that you got early in the year, at least, out of Justin Falk. All of that has to happen, and you have to take a step forward in order for this offense to improve, and a lot of that is going to fall at the feet of a rookie who's coming from the QMJHL, who's going to be asked to immediately improve the offense. It's too much for me. And I think that if you're trying to just get back to where these teams are right now, you're going to fall short once again. I think in the Western Conference this year, you've been incredibly lucky to even be in this thing. You're at 84 points for the final wildcard spot right now. That's what the Nashville Predators are at. If you were in the East, you'd be at 92, is where the final wildcard spot is. So you're going to have to even, I believe, aim for higher than what the expectations were this year for that final spot. To do that, you're going to need more out of your offense. And to improve the offense, you're going to be putting that at the feet of your rookie. I think they need to do a lot more. Or next year is another retool year, and you're coming into it with the expectations that we're not going to be in that group of teams. We're going to be more in the group of teams that's, right around the top 10 selection again.
A retool on a retool.
I think those are the two paths that you can go. You either need to be more aggressive or you remain in this retool. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. I know that's not a fun way to look at it, but this is where we're at. Junk drawer next. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. It is time for the junk drawer here on the show. Alex, I've got a question for you. How bad should I feel about this? All right. So yesterday.
Oh, boy.
It's funny. I have one of these scenarios, too, that I can ask you about.
I would love to hear yours. Yesterday, we have our weekly lawn service, right? They come through, mow the yard. They do a fantastic job. So we got to make sure that the yard's ready to go for them. Pick up all the kids' toys, whatever. That way, whenever they come out, it's ready to go. Well, on Sunday, it was Easter, right? So we set up an Easter egg hunt for Luca outside. What we screwed up is we gave him his Easter gifts first, so we never actually got to the Easter egg hunt because he just wanted to play with all the toys.
I thought you were going to say you forgot where you put the eggs.
Yeah. Do the eggs first.
Yeah, should have done the eggs. Unfortunately, his gifts were on the couch. We got to the couch first. He immediately went to those, and then we never got outside. By the time we were ready to go outside, we were ready to go over to Kara's parents' place. It was time for the actual Easter festivities. So we didn't do the Easter egg hunt that day. And then on Monday, we got busy. We had a bunch of other stuff. We weren't at home very much. So Tuesday is when
I know where this is headed, and yes, you should feel like a jerk.
I remembered to put away all of the stuff from outside in the back. The Easter egg hunt was in the front, though. And I totally forgot that we had Easter eggs out in the yard. And so as I pull back into my driveway yesterday, by our tree, we've got a little box. It's manicured and everything. And so I see a bunch of Easter eggs just in a pile next to the tree. And I'm like, oh, bleep. They basically had to go on an Easter egg hunt prior to mowing my yard to pick everything up so they could do their job.
That sucks.
Scale of 1 to 10, how bad should I feel about this?
I'd put it at a 5. I mean, I've been in the spot before.
I'm sure they've felt that before.
I've had to do pest control before where you go to somebody's house and they leave all of their kids' toys out, and it's like, I can't spray with this. Like, did they call and tell you that they were coming?
Or did they just do it every Tuesday?
Oh, okay, so it's scheduled.
It's not something that surprised me.
Because, like,
I just forgot.
They schedule appointments when I did the pest control, and, like, you'd show up and they still didn't clean anything. It's like, all right, so I have to, like, move everything away from the house. So it's part of the job. Okay. Like, you're just kind of a jerk for leaving it out there and not moving it.
Yeah, I think 5's about right on there.
Yeah, I put it at a 5. Like, I don't think you're an a-hole, but
I'm sure there's a lot of times now they probably don't do the full Easter egg hunt, but I'm sure they find a bunch of eggs that people forget about.
We didn't do a huge one at our place because we knew we had another one later on.
I'm sure
the
there's
day.
people like they find like 1 or 2 at other houses across. Because we've discovered like when my parents moved out of our old house, they discovered Easter eggs they hid from like 5 years ago that we lost.
The 2 things that you continue to find for the year after the holiday is Easter eggs and then confetti from New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah,
those party poppers, you'll find it for 2 years later, and you're like, what the hell was this?
Gator over on the YouTube chat, real quick, Alex said that's super cool. They picked them up. Well, the option was pick them up or run them over.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Like they also have to like go around and pick up sticks if they've fallen. So
were these real eggs or like the plastic Easter eggs?
Plastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do the real ones, and that's where
real
it's
ones,
like
you could go over those.
Katie hates it because like I get so frustrated. I'm like, why do we put these out there? And it's a thing that she does, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then it's like the one year we forgot, and you walk outside and you just smell rotten egg, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then you find out. All right, my quick jerk story here. I was walking in today. What's the distance for a person that you stay and hold the door open for?
Do what?
What's the distance that you stand and hold the door open for somebody?
I mean, I think it's just one of those behind. You know it when you see it kind of thing.
Okay, because I was walking in, and
Could you do this too?
I honestly have no idea. I'm walking in, and she's like probably like 15 parking spots down in the garage, but she's walking towards the door. And I'm like, all right, should I stand and hold this door?
No, I think you're good.
And I didn't. And I felt like a jerk because, like, you know, you'd hear 10 more steps and she's right behind you.
No, I
but
think
I'm like,
good.
I'd hate to be her to where somebody holds the door open for me and then I got to run to the door. And so it's like, I'm just going to let her get it herself. I felt kind of like a D-bag, though, when I walked out of it.
Nah, you're at a 0 on that scale
good.
for me.
That's
I'm
good.
definitely much more of a douche than you.
Yeah.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. In 15 minutes, we'll play a game of More Likely to Happen. You give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely. But next, it's time to have a conversation about Pedro Pages. We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We're nearing a time where we have to have a real conversation about Pedro Pages, Alex. Come on, buddy. You're a pro.
Sorry, T-Bone got me on that one.
You're a pro.
You are too, apparently.
So, Pages is hitting 182. His OPS is right around 600. None of that is altogether surprising. He's not a very good hitter.
Yeah.
We knew that. I think he would agree with you. You know, last year his OPS was 635. He was 20% below league average. Hit for a little bit of power, but other than that, just did a whole lot of nothing at the plate. His calling card has to be defense. He's got to be a good defender back there. He has to have the ability to call a good game. He needs to be able to throw runners out. And he certainly needs to be a good receiver of the ball. He's got to block the ball, and he's got to make sure that there's not all these wild pitches, pass balls, whatever. Well, that hasn't been happening. It's the early going, and he shouldn't lose his job after 8 games. I'm not a believer in that. But I'm now, this is something that's at least on my radar. We've been talking a lot about, hey, who's the player right now that's under pressure to perform while somebody down in AAA could be having that opportunity to come up to the big leagues. The bullpen's always going to have that. The rotation, you've got Hunter Dobbins, who was good once again. I think it was yesterday down in AAA, and he's probably going to join the rotation at some point in the next few weeks. My guess is that'll be a 6-man, so that's more about the bullpen than the rotation. On the position player side of things, I think it's Pages. He's the one that needs to be right now kind of under the microscope, because Jimmy Crooks continues to tear the cover off the ball down in AAA. And all the reports are, and I saw Kyle Reese mentioned this yesterday, he pays attention to the minors more than we do, he's been good defensively behind the plate as well. So Pages better get it going, man. Otherwise, he's at least at risk right now of either becoming the third catcher on the roster or becoming a guy that ends up getting sent down potentially to AAA.
Yeah, I look, the conversation we had about Nathan Church in the early portion of the season should be having the same conversation about Pedro Pages, because Nathan Church wasn't hitting the baseball. But what would we say about Nathan Church? Well, he gives you great defense. All right, well, if Pedro Pages is not hitting the ball and he's not providing you great defense, then why are we playing him? You're carrying 3 catchers. Now, they don't view Pozo as a catcher. He's the backup first baseman, bench bat. So, yeah, I'm absolutely with you. Like, I don't know how long that leash is. I would imagine you want the protection just in terms of Ivan Herrera, as he's still coming back into this thing, but he's starting again today for Michael McGreevy. If we're going to talk out of one side of our mouth and say, well, Nathan Church shouldn't play left field anymore, and you should give it to Thomas Ajaysi because he's more in line with the future of this Cardinals team, and Nathan Church isn't hitting the baseball, then Jimmy Crooks' name should be brought up, and he should be on this team at some point, because Pages isn't hitting, so he's not providing you offense. He's not benefiting you behind the plate as this all-world defensive player. And if Jimmy Crooks is going to do this in AAA, he got a taste of Major League Baseball last year. He wasn't great, but at least he saw what it was. He worked on it in the offseason, and he is showing that he should be on this roster. So I'm with you. By the end of, I don't know if it's the entire month of April, but I would say in a couple of weeks, if this is the same trend with Pages, then I think it's time to do the swap.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think where it is slightly different is the amount of time that they deserve to get it right. Nathan Church, if you have a bad week, that's enough where you could potentially lose your job to Thomas Ajaysi. Pedro Pages, it shouldn't just be a bad week. He's earned more than that, because for as bad as he has been offensively for his career, he is a guy that has, for whatever you deem this to be worth, the Cardinals clearly value him behind the plate. Have and do. So I think he has earned the opportunity to have a bad week. But he's got to get it right. And if he doesn't, at some point, I think you're probably right, Alex, at some point within like the next few weeks, if Jimmy Crooks is still playing well at that point in time, then there will need, in my opinion, to be a conversation about what do we do here? What is the roster manipulation that we can go with? Is it Pedro Pages gets sent down? Does he make more sense as the third catcher, with Pozo potentially being the one that's pushed off of the roster? And then we can figure out how to make sure that we're getting all of these guys the opportunities that need to happen behind the plate. I think a big part of this conversation as well is what's taking place right now with Ivan Herrera, who's once again behind the plate today. It seems pretty clear at this point. It's Palante and McGreevy. Those are his two designated pitchers that he's catching right now, which means basically twice a week. How does he continue to develop in that regard over the course of the next few weeks? If he's comfortable, maybe they do say, you know what, it's okay for us to send Pages down and we can just have those two catchers at the big league level between Crooks and Herrera, and that's the way we're going to make this thing work. I think that's something that we're getting close to now.
Yeah, and I think they're waiting to see, like you said there, if Herrera can become a catcher. Because if the answer is no, like by July, which I don't even think they would decide that by then, at least then you still have an offensive upside catcher that you can at least potentially call up and be ready to go to take over from Pages, and you bring some offensive thump to that position. But I'm with you guys. I think there is some pressure starting to build on Pages because it's his calling card that's been the problem, right? You know, I keep referencing this with guys, and it's their tools. His tool is defense. His defense looks terrible so far this year. Had another ball that got away from him last night. His throws recently on stolen bases have been pulled and have skipped to second base. He looks like Kerber did last year when it comes to throwing down to second base. And that can't be his calling card behind the plate. And it will force a decision when you have one prospect that is starting to hit, and it's Jimmy Crooks. So, yeah, I think by the end of the month, you're going to have that decision. I do think it does play into how Herrera looks behind the plate as well. I'm still skeptical what it's going to take for them to move on from him. And what I mean by that is just optioning down Pages because of how much they love him. But at some point, you can't ignore the obvious, which is, hey, Jimmy Crooks is potentially ready to take over this spot, even if it is catching just once out of every 3 games, like it would be if he moves into that spot. At some point, you still have to give that guy an opportunity to try and win the backup role from Herrera behind the plate.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see how they view Jimmy Crooks. He was not somebody that it seemed like they were overly interested in giving a real chance in spring. He's been awesome since going down to AAA. Are they believing in this? Are they buying it? Are they as into this as Cardinals fans very clearly are? Because Cardinals fans are ready to do this today. Like, most of our text line and our YouTube chat is basically, hey, just go ahead and call him up. Let's get him up here. Give him all of the opportunities that have been given previously to Pedro Pages. And I don't have a great argument against that right now for myself. The Cardinals, though, would definitely push back on that because they believe in Pedro Pages. They really like what he brings to the table, and they would tell you the pitchers really like what he brings to the table. But I agree with T-Bone. So far this year, he has not been the defensive catcher that he was a year ago, and that's got to be his thing. It's like with Jordan Kyrou. Kyrou is not going to be a great defender. We all know that. But he, in the past, has been a 30-plus goal scorer, so you can at least, if you're a defender of him, as I have been, you can at least point to it and say, yeah, but he brings all of this other stuff to the table, so that outweighs some of the defensive lapses that exist within his game. Well, Pages is going to be a bad hitter. He damn sure has to be a really good catcher behind the plate. It just hasn't been that so far this year. Be curious to see what it looks like over the next few weeks. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up in 15 minutes, there's a new rule in college sports that might be popular with the vast majority of the fans. We'll tell you about it in about 15 minutes. More likely to happen is next here on 101 ESPN. alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. You guys give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely. All right, let's go with this one. Justin Carbonneau gets to 25 goals next year, or Jordan Walker gets to 30 home runs this year?
I'll say Walker gets to 30 home runs this year. I don't know if Carbonneau's going to be on the ice enough to get 25 goals next year.
Yeah, I think I'm with you.
Unless he's just like some sensation, he's probably playing second, third line minutes, second power play unit.
Yeah, my expectation is he's not a 20-goal scorer. I'm still skeptical if Walker gets to 30, but, like, if he keeps this up, he's going to. I mean, when he makes freaking contact, he hits it hard as hell. So, I mean, he hit that home run last night, 110 miles an hour off the bat, because it came in at 90. It wasn't like it was a big fastball that he hit that off of. So, I would say Walker 30-plus home runs.
Well, he's currently on pace for 60, so he could even, like,
it's the McGuire
cut
season?
it in half, and he'd still be on pace. But he's on pace for 162 ribbies right now, T-Bone. How about that? Pretty good.
You're not going to get me to buy in.
That's pretty good.
Man.
Again, I'm
doubles,
excited. It's
60 homers, 162 ribbies, 135 runs. It's a good season. I'll definitely side with the Walker side of things. Alex?
Guys, more likely to happen, the Red Wings fire Steve Yzerman or promote Steve Yzerman?
Yeah.
Promote. I don't think they're firing him.
The conversation right now is that he's going to just move to the president of hockey operations, and then they're going to give it to Horkoff or Chris Draper as the general manager. I was looking at this. Falk had 2 goals last night. Good for Detroit.
What a great trade for Detroit.
Prior to those 2 goals,
you doing okay over there?
I got a cough drop in, so I'm trying to like manage talking without doing weird noises. Justin Hall, prior to Justin Falk's 2-goal night last night, Hall had 1 point fewer than Justin Falk and was a +6 on the ice versus Justin Falk was a -5.
Uh-huh.
What?
Put that like into your like how you would dip with some chew.
We can hear you
Put it like
struggling.
down there.
It is down there. That's the problem.
Oh, well,
That was the problem. It was
There's
down
something
there.
going on. I could not pay attention to what was being said.
Sorry, man.
I know you're playing hurt, man. It's been really impressive that you made it this far.
My voice is shot, so this is where it's at.
What was the more likely to happen? I truly don't know.
Yzerman gets fired. I say not promoted.
Move on.
All right. More likely to have 20-plus in this category.
Okay.
The Blues have more 20-plus goal scorers than the Cardinals have 20-plus home run hitters.
You talking this season? Cardinals. You have, 4 games left, and you have only one guy that I think is flirting with 20?
Yeah, I think you're only getting one this year. Oh, Holloway could get there.
Holloway's at 19.
So
He'll get there.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals get more than 2.
Snuggerud, I wonder if he could get there, too.
He's
got
got
17.
hell of a heater to finish things out with.
I mean, that's 3 goals in 4 games. He did that in 3 games a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I think it's possible they could end up with 3. Odds are 2, but they could end up with 3.
Yeah, I don't think Kyrou or Buchnevich get there.
And then the Cardinals could end up with, I think, 3 is reasonable. Herrera, Burley, Walker, and then it comes down to DP Leave and Gorman.
Yeah,
And
I'll
if
give
you
it to
do-
the Cardinals. They got more runway to do it.
Yeah, I think I would lean Cardinals as well. If I change it to 25-plus home run hitters for the Cardinals, would that change your answer?
Well, I don't think you're getting a 25 goal scorer on this Blues team.
No, sorry, not a 20. I'll keep it at 20 goals for the
20
Blues.
for the Blues, 25. I would still say the Blues could have 2, and I don't think the Cardinals have more than 2 guys.
I think it'd be a push. If I had to lean one direction, I think it's more likely that the Cardinals have 3 25 home run hitters than it is that the Blues have 3 20-goal scorers.
What if you went with
because of the amount?
What
of
if you went with the Cardinals this season versus the Blues next season? 20 and 20.
I would probably still take the Cardinals because I think they could have 4 guys.
Thomas, Holloway, Snuggie. I think Neighbors is a 20-goal scorer. I think this has been a weird year.
I do too. I think they're going to probably put Booch back
4.
into that top 6 spot next year.
4, maybe 5, and I don't think the Cardinals get there, so I'd probably lean Blues.
Kind of what I was thinking.
I would lean Cardinals because I'm like Neighbors. Like I agree, good hockey player needs someone to help drive offense for him to have success. And right now, like we were just talking about it, his center next year is either Dvorsky or Suter. That doesn't scream like he's going to be putting up 20 goals, in my opinion.
314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. You give us 2 scenarios, we'll tell you which one is more likely. From the 618, more likely to happen, Walker voted into the All-Star game or the BKO stays alive and Walker collapses.
Yeah, that
BKO
one.
stays alive. He's hitting in the 4-hole today against Miles Michaelis. I think you're about to find out.
Wouldn't it be awesome if he's like 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts?
That's
after
what I'm
BK
just
was
kind of
throwing again,
wondering.
and it's Tom Michaelis of all people.
If the conductor hat turns into Ofer against Michaelis.
Is Michaelis on the mound today?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, hell
Him and
yeah.
his
He's definitely hitting a
13
home run. What are the
13
odds on
ERA?
that? Check out this underdog app.
I think it's more likely that the BKO survives. Nothing can beat down the BKO.
Oh, definitely the opposite. Let's go over to the underdog app real quick. MLB, go over to the Cardinals. It's 310.
Live radio.
305 first pitch. Home runs. Nolan Gorman. Oh,
You're laughing at me for
2.3
me.
to 1 odds.
What?
What?
Basically 2.5 to 1 odds
Oh.
for Jordan Walker to hit a home run today. I like that. All right.
What's the odds for 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts?
More likely to happen. The Blues' biggest offseason acquisition is a winger, a center, or a defenseman. I think their biggest offseason acquisition is going to be whoever they draft.
Oh,
I
see,
think that's the most likely outcome for the offseason.
I think the biggest move is going to be a trade at the draft. I think they're going to be moving a couple of those picks with Kyra to get something. I just don't know what. If you go off of
I like
positions.
defenseman just because I agree with what you're saying. Odds are it's probably the biggest addition is in the draft. And if they don't end up top 2, maybe they end up with that center. But as we've seen, the bigger odd would be defenseman because there's, like 5 defensemen in the top 8?
Yeah, I think if it's the draft, it's probably most likely going to be the defenseman, although I think they're going to really try and go after a Caleb Malholtra. If we're talking trade, I don't think they're going to trade for a defenseman. I think they might view their defenseman as like, we've got Juracek, Mayu, Parayko, Lindstein, Fowler, Broberg, and we got a couple of other guys that we're excited about in our system, unless something just draw drops that comes available. I think they're going to focus on the forward, and I would lean more center.
Here's a question for you. What do you think is a better asset, whatever they get back for Jordan Kyrou or their, let's say, number 6 overall selection?
Are you just going under the premise of Kyrou straight up? Because I kind of wonder if you package stuff with Kyrou.
Yeah, let's go Kyrou. You break him into pieces.
I'd say the best asset would be what you get back for Kyrou.
You think that's a better asset than the number 6 overall selection?
Yeah.
You think, like, if you traded Kyrou for a prospect, do you think that prospect would be better than the prospects that you get for the number 6 overall selection?
And I'm sorry to be difficult, but that's why if you're just trading Kyrou straight up for a prospect, no, I'd say the 6th overall pick is better.
And that's what I'm talking about.
I thought you were saying Kyrou plus a package. Like if I put the other 2 first-round picks together with Kyrou.
No, because then you're including a bunch of other stuff in it.
Yeah. No,
So
yeah,
I'm
the
saying
6th
basically
overall
what's
pick would
more
be better.
valuable, the 6th overall pick or Jordan Kyrou? Maybe that would have been the better.
They were
way to frame
targeting,
it.
at least from the rumors at the deadline, a better asset than what the draft would have been at the 6th overall pick, at least this year.
For
but nobody,
Kyrou?
yeah, but nobody would pay it. So I don't think somebody's going to pay that asset. So if it's just Kyrou straight up, then yeah, the 6th overall pick is better.
That's what I would say as well. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's impact NHL. Like, I don't know what you're getting for Kyrou. I think if you're getting something for Kyrou, it's not, I agree with what you just said. Now what they were seeking at the draft, it's probably more of like a back half first round pick prospect type player.
With T-Bone and Alex on BK. Coming up next, there's a new rule change that has been proposed, at least, in college athletics. I think it would be exactly what the sport is needing right now. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK for my friends over at Victory Men's Health. Check them out online today at victorymenshealth.com. That is where your process gets started. It is incredibly easy. Go over to the top right corner of the page. It's a brand new website. Click Get Started. When you get there, put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then you can get started. That first consultation is going to be where everything begins. You'll tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion, and this means different things for everybody. For me, it meant going over there and finding out where all my micronutrient levels were at and optimizing everything that is in my body. I find out you're low on this, you're good here, and now they send me in the mail each and every month the perfect package for me. It's a personalized plan. The same thing will be true for you. Whether that's low testosterone symptoms or weight loss goals or sexual health, or maybe you want to learn more about red light therapy programs that are available. It's all there for you at Victory Men's Health. It's time to unlock your inner champion. Do it today at Victory Men's Health and online at victorymenshealth.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues fell to the Avalanche last night. They'll be back in action tomorrow night when they host the Winnipeg Jets. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. And today is the rubber match in the Cardinals and Nationals Series. 3:10 will be first pitch. Miles Michaelis on the mound for Washington. Michael McGreevy will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So, Alex, there was big news in college sports within the last 24 hours. I know there was the Trump executive order last week where he said, hey, these are the new changes that are coming to college sports. Nobody knows if it's actually going to stand up to any of the challenges in court, but he's got all these ideas of where he wants things to go. Well, the NCAA is now proposing some changes of their own. And I actually think these would, A, be super popular, and B, be good for college basketball in particular. So this is according to Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports, who's one of the best college insiders going. Said the NCAA is considering a significant change to its eligibility rules. The committee next week is expected to explore a new age-based standard for the athlete eligibility as part of a proposal that's been in the works for weeks, but only recently has been socialized with a more high level of confidence. So, according to this report, the concept is NCAA athletes would have 5 years of eligibility from the time that they turn 19 years old or from the time that they graduate from high school. And the reason why you have to have both of those is because of what T-Bone's Illini did this past year.
Whoa. We don't throw us
They
completely
go
under the
over to
bus.
Europe and get a bunch of dudes who, yes, are coming over for their first year of eligibility in college, but for some of them, they're 20, 21, 22 years old. The same thing is true for prep schools, by the way. This is something that's really grown in popularity in recent years, where high school kids will graduate and then take what is basically a gap year at a prep school, and then they're 19 or 20 years old by the time that they get to college. So for them, it makes sense to do so because you basically get a free year of development prior to starting your clock in college. Smart, makes sense. If these rules were changed, though, you would not take that gap year because then you could potentially, like the year after high school, you're using up one of those years of eligibility to go to prep school instead of college. Then it suddenly ceases to make sense for you. I'm all in favor of this. I think this ties up a lot of loopholes. I think it's very clear to everybody. You have 5 years. You get 5 years to play in college, and that's it. Once you're done with that, Akeem Mesidor, you can't have 7. You don't get to be here for your doctorate. You get to be here for 5 years, and then, sorry, buddy, you got to go to the NFL or you got to get a 9 to 5.
Why are you telling
That's
guys
it.
not to be doctors?
Akeem Mesidor is a really good college football player this year. He just should have been playing with pros. He shouldn't have been playing with 19-year-olds that he's going up against. That shouldn't have been allowed. Hell, a lot of the guys on Indiana this year, they were in school for like 6 years, man. They were the oldest school by roster in college football. So, yeah, it's no surprise the guys that have been in college for 6 years are beating up on the dudes that have been there for 2. Anyways, I think this would make a lot of sense. I don't know exactly how this would hold up in court either.
I was going to say.
My hope would be that it's something that everybody could say, all right, yeah, we can go our separate ways. This is probably the correct way to go forward. What do you think, if it does legally hold up, what do you think about this as the new rule for college sports?
I mean, I like it. I like the fact that you get 5 years with this and you can't go beyond a certain age to where you don't have these guys either coming in late or arguing to get their 7th or 8th year of eligibility. And it's like, what the heck are we doing right now? I think it's smart to get guys into it right away. And then, you kind of go from there. I think there's more ways to close up some of those loopholes in terms of the transferability and whatnot. But yeah, I think this is at least a really good start with it. But I think you're right. I don't think something like this is going to hold up because, as we see with the NCAA, lawsuits love to come out of the woodwork with things like this.
Yeah, I love the idea of putting a limit on it of 5 years, and you close off the loophole, like you mentioned, of the guys that come over from Europe, so they're not starting with 5 years at like age 22, for example. I think this all makes sense. This all feels almost like common sense, but
Good thing NCAA figured it out.
I think it helps out kids in high school as well, because now you really force guys out, right? There is no longer the question like we've seen with Ole Miss, for example, and I think it helps coaches as well, but I'll use Ole Miss because it's a perfect example of where, is our quarterback eligible? Is he not eligible? Well, one day he is, one day he's not, one day the Supreme Court says he is. Like, there's no longer this guessing game if this were to go through and it ends up being there. So I think it helps out the coaches. I think it helps out high school players as well. That way some more kids can graduate out a little bit faster rather than being stuck on rosters for 7 years of college eligibility. I think this seems great in principle. I'm kind of with you, Alex. I question how much this is really going to hold up when we get to the lawsuits that will come with it. But I think it all makes sense to me.
I've got my fingers crossed. That's basically where I'm at, is please allow for this to be possible. Like, just allow for all of this to make more sense again. Because we got into this weird place where everybody was moving schools every year, and then you'd get 6 years of eligibility, and you had the COVID year for some guys. Some guys didn't have it, and then there would be the injury waivers and all these different things. And the story over on Yahoo, they said they had like, I think it was 1,500 different suits of players having a waiver request for some kind of extended eligibility, whether that was injuries or personal loss, whatever the case may be. That's just too many. Like, you get 5 years, and hopefully everything goes well for you health-wise. But if not, man, that sucks. I feel like truly bad for you. But this is what you get. You get 5 years to do this, and then your clock's over after that. And you've either got to go to the NFL, or you've got to go get a job, or you go to the UFL, whatever it might be. But yeah, I think this is the right way to go about it for college athletics, especially for football and for basketball. The next thing, if this works out, that I would like to see them try to tackle, and this one's going to be even harder, is the transfer rules.
Yeah.
Where I am totally fine with them getting a free transfer. I'd even be okay with it where you got 5 years. After you graduate, you get another one, right? Like, it's like if in the challenge system in baseball, if you get both of your challenges correct, you get more of them. If you graduate, that should be an incentive. If you graduate in college and you had already transferred once, you get one bonus year of like a free get out of jail free card. So you can transfer up to 2 times without having to sit out for a year in college basketball or college football. These guys that are playing at 3, 4, 5 different schools over the course of their collegiate careers, I don't think that's good for anybody, including them. So that would be the next thing that I would like to see them try to attack. That one is going to be even harder because it is a restriction on player movement, and that's where you get into the legal.
Yeah, and that's where I think at least you make it a little bit more appealing, I guess I could say, but I don't think anybody is going to have an appetite for that in the NCAA, nor are going to be lawyers that are attached to these players because of everything that has fallen under that umbrella over the last few years.
I'll figure out the 5-year eligibility thing first before I start to even try and tackle the transfer one.
You don't want to go super far into this?
Well, no, I'm open to listening to anything on the portal. I've got my ideas on how you attack it.
You're just skeptical
I'm
that
open to.
the NCAA can do two things at once.
Well, they haven't proven they can.
They can't walk and chew
College
bubblegum?
football is like, how about we expand the playoff? And I'm going, you guys have to figure out the transfer portal being in the middle of the playoff before you can start having conversations of let's expand the playoffs. So, no, they cannot walk and chew gum at the same time.
By the way, did you guys see they're apparently expanding the NCAA tournament? This one went completely under the radar.
I know. It was
guess
like,
they
it was
decided
done.
to do it.
To us, and
I don't
we
know what
didn't
they
even
did.
react to it.
I don't know if they did or didn't, because originally there was reports that said, yeah, this isn't going to happen. And it was like, oh, thank God. Whew, good. And then there was reports that said, no, yeah, this is done. It's like, wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it said that it is expanding next year. I don't know. I saw something that said that it was expanding to 76 teams. Did I fall for
You got clickbaited.
fake story, or
I don't think
that
so.
was
I
real,
saw that,
right?
right? Well, I was the one who passed that along, so I hope it was
Okay,
real.
I'm pretty sure
I
that
quote
is something
tweeted
that
it too.
saw
I
that was
really
taking
hope it
place.
was real.
All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. We'll hit the rewind, close things down here, and BK and Ferrario next. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
That 101 ESPN app, free to use, super easy to download. It is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. While you're there, or on the YouTube page at youtube.com/101ESPNSTL, you can check out the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast. Brand new episode just posted a bit ago over there. Alex, what can people expect from you, Donnie, and JR whenever they go to that?
Well, we obviously talk about the red hot line of Thomas Holloway and Snuggerud, and if this play means Thomas is here to stay for next season, we'll talk about Jordan Kyrou and how his play is dipped off. Brady Tkachuk, I mentioned Donnie read an email that got him pretty fired up about the noise around Brady Tkachuk, and a couple of other nuggets along the way.
Fired up in a good way?
No. Well, fired up in a good way for Brady Tkachuk, but the email got Donnie a little aggravated
I
for
thought
the
you were
comparison.
saying he was thinking like he's more name, not game. And I was like, wow, whoa, what a hot take from Donnie today.
Donnie was his usual self, which is always good.
All right, to finish out the show today, we go back to where we began, which is the Blues season. I know Kerbs hates it, but the odds are what they are. 0.5% chance to get into the playoffs as of today. Yes, they do change every day. They changed a lot last night. They went from like 5% to basically 0% because the Blues lost and everything around them went in the direction that the Blues did not want it to go yesterday. And that's been the case basically all week long. Alex, what's the lesson to you? Whether it's from last night, which I don't know how much there is really to take from that, or maybe more so from the season that led to where we are today.
That you have to be ready to play the same style, the same aggressiveness, the same mindset that you have had since February 23rd. You have to play that way in October and November if you want to be in the playoff race. And I do think this is going to be good in the long run for the Blues, to where, look, you get rewarded last season for going on a magical run and making the playoffs, and everyone thought that it was about to go on a tear, including, I think, the Blues and the coaching staff. They thought they were going to be better than what they were, and they weren't. This is one of those seasons, much like when the Blues made the playoffs in the 2008-2009. They missed the playoffs the next two seasons and realized it's like, look, there's more work that has to go into us being a consistent contender in the NHL playoffs. That's what I feel like this season can be. So the lesson is you have to bring the same intensity that you play with in March, in October and November if you want to compete in the Western Conference.
I would add you need the depth of scoring. This is a team that is not built upon star power. It is built upon depth of scoring. That's the whole identity of what they've been, not just for this season, but for years under Doug Armstrong's leadership. And it just didn't show up this year. You weren't able to flash that identity for long enough. So they need to develop more of that. And that's certainly something that we'll spend a lot of the offseason talking about here on BK and Ferrario. I did earlier today put on the conductor hat. Jordan Walker.
Don't do it twice.
On pace this year for 60 home runs. Already up to 4. The one question is he just feasting on lefties? That's basically what has been early on in the season. I'm not too worried about all the other underlying stuff. Suggests he's doing really well against right-handed pitching, just hasn't had the production there quite yet. Alex, how you feeling today about Jordan Walker and what it all means?
The same I felt a couple of days ago. I'm not going to take the bold take that BK did early on and saying that he is fixed and everything is going to be amazing moving forward. I think Jordan Walker has made improvements this year, and that is awesome to see. But call me in 2 months. Call me when you have a longer track record for me to look at and be like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fixed. What's the first drought look like when you go 0 for 3 straight games? What's it look like when you aren't recognizing pitches? Can you dig yourself out of that hole? Because it's not going to be all roses and lollipops from now until the I'm the season.
Yeah, but he's not going to have to dig out of that hole.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, because he's going to be amazing. Mike Trout, we heard early on.
Yeah, I'm with Alex. Look, I'm excited to see what he's done through the first 11 games of the season, because it's finally some signs, at least just something to look at and go, boy, okay, maybe this might be fixed. I need a bigger sample size, right? I mean, we've seen guys get hot for 11 games before. Maybe it's not this hot that Walker's on. Not many guys are built like Jordan Walker, though. We need to see a bigger sample size. And like I was looking at some of the pitch approach to him this year so far. Pitchers are pitching him the same way. Lefties are pitching him the same way. He's doing a better job of laying off what lefties are trying to do, so he's forcing them in the zone. He's not doing that against righties yet, so that is something to monitor. Again, I'm not buying too much into a splits yet. It's too small a sample size. Let's talk at the end of April, and then we'll see if I'm really ready to buy in or not.
Cardinals back in action coming up here in about an hour.
They got BP today at 3:05.
You hope.
Yeah, well, no, they will. It's Miles Michaelis. Beat
You
me
hope.
today at 3:05.
This is one of those games. It's like, oh yeah, they'll go out there and crush them, and then they don't get a hit.
God, it'd be really nice if they're able to do damage against Miles Michaelis later on this afternoon. You got Ivan Herrera behind the plate. It'll be Michael McGreevy on the mound. Thomas Ajayci and Nathan Church in the outfield today. Ramon Urias at third base for your
Is
St.
that really
Louis
in a roll
Cardinals.
of the tongue with the R
I
there?
thought you only roll it when there's 2 R's.
No,
I don't think you roll it with 1 R.
Jim Montgomery will be joining the Fast Lane coming up today at 5 o'clock, so stay tuned for that. We will be joined tomorrow by Joey Vitale, Blues analyst for 101 ESPN, so looking forward to our weekly conversations with Joe here on BK and Ferrario. If you guys missed anything, check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, the free 101 ESPN app, or on YouTube at youtube.com/101 ESPN STL. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane's next here on 101 ESPN.